Chapter 3061. Black Tortoise World. Qin Feiyang and Madman sat opposite each other. A pot of tea was boiling on the table in front of them, and the fragrance of tea filled the air. Both of them had already recovered their true appearances. Qin Badian had also returned and continued to comprehend the power of laws. Qin Feiyang held the teacup and sniffed it. He immediately felt refreshed and said with a smile, "I hope this will work." Madman nodded and glanced at Qin Feiyang. He frowned and said, "Why do you like drinking tea so much? Tea can nourish the body and the heart. Haven't you noticed that when drinking tea, time passes very slowly, the atmosphere is very relaxed, and the heart is also very calm?" Qin Feiyang smiled. "There's no need to be so particular." Madman shook his head. He was the kind of person who drank both wine and tea. If he didn't understand, he would understand a little. If he understood, he wouldn't understand too much. Taking a sip of the teacup, Madman pondered and said, "To cut the grass, we have to remove the roots. The root of this matter is actually the Vice Alliance leader. I really don't understand why this old thing wants to kill us." Madman raised his head and looked at Qin Feiyang with a frown. "I've also thought about this problem. If you say it's because of Wang Hui's death, I won't believe it even if you beat me to death. But other than that, we have no grudges with the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. We haven't even come into contact with this Vice Alliance leader, let alone any grudges. And this Vice Alliance leader seems to be especially concerned about us. Let's talk about our origins. Not many people know about our origins. Apart from the Demon Palace, only the Blood Palace knows. The Demon Palace and the Rogue Cultivator Alliance are enemies, so it's impossible for them to tell the Rogue Cultivator Alliance." Then, only, Qin Feiyang analyzed step by step. When he reached this point, even he was shocked. Apart from the Demon Palace, only the Blood Palace was left. "You mean this person is related to the Blood Palace?" Madman was also shocked. "Most likely." Qin Feiyang took a deep breath and said solemnly. "But that's not right. The sea beasts of the sky cloud sea seem to know of our existence. Could it be that they told us?" Madman frowned. "No." Qin Feiyang shook his head decisively. "Why?" Madman had a suspicious expression. If it was really a sea beast from the heavenly cloud sea, then everyone in the eastern continent should know about it. But look, no matter if it's Eastern Mountain City, Tianfeng City, or this Wind Sea City, no one knows us. Even the demonic towers of the major cities are unfamiliar with us." Qin Feiyang said. "That makes sense." Madman nodded. "But then again, I really find it strange. We caused such a huge commotion in the heavenly cloud sea. How come no one knows about it? I feel like someone is deliberately blocking the news." Qin Feiyang mumbled. Madman was slightly taken aback and quickly nodded. "Now that you mention it, it really is a bit strange." Qin Feiyang asked, "Why don't we go to the heavenly cloud sea and take a look?" No. What if the Blood Hall's people are still lurking in the sea of heavenly clouds? Wouldn't we be walking right into their trap?" Madman shook his head. "We're just asking around the edge of the sea, not going deep. Let's talk about it later. This is the eastern continent, the Blood Hall wouldn't dare to act brazenly." Qin Feiyang said. "If that's the case," Madman pondered for a while and nodded. "All right, let's go take a look." The two drank the tea in their cups and stood up. "You guys are going out again?" At this time, Mermaid Princess and Zhuo Shaoxian walked out from the backyard with a few delicious dishes. "You guys eat, don't worry about us." The two smiled slightly and left the Black Tortoise world. They activated the teleportation altar and rushed towards the heavenly cloud sea. Not long after activating hundreds of teleportation altars, the two finally landed on the coast of the heavenly cloud sea. Above the sea, the wind howled and the waves rolled. Qin Feiyang and Madman looked at each other and released their divine sense at the same time, rolling in all directions. The sea ahead and the mountain behind only had sea beasts and fierce beasts. The crisis could be resolved immediately. Madman rushed into the sea. Not long after, he came out with a half-step imperishable realm sea beast. What are you doing? The sea beast was panicking. You seem to know us. Qin Feiyang looked at it suspiciously. The sea beast said in horror, go and ask, who in the heavenly cloud sea doesn't know you guys now? Are we that famous? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Damn. The sea beast immediately realized that something was wrong and actually let it slip in a moment of panic. Qin Feiyang and Madman looked at each other, their eyes shining. Looking at the sea beast's expression, they knew that something was wrong. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, don't be nervous, we won't hurt you. We just want to know, why do you all know us? I can't say. The sea beast shook its head. Why? Qin Feiyang was curious. The sea beast only shook its head and didn't say anything. Madman raised his eyebrows, and a trace of killing intent emerged. The sea beast roared, don't make things difficult for me, okay? I don't know anything. Qin Feiyang stopped Madman and looked at the sea beast with a smile, then let's change the topic. Since the heavenly cloud sea knows of our existence, why don't the creatures of the eastern continent know? I don't know. The sea beast still shook its head. Madman said angrily, are you unhappy if I don't beat you up? Even if you beat me up, I don't know. The sea beast shook its head. The corner of Madman's mouth twitched. Qin Feiyang looked at the sea beast, his eyes flickering. Suddenly, he looked up at the sea in front of him, his eyes filled with an inexplicable light. I'll ask you one last time, are you going to tell me or not? If you don't, we will forcibly read your memories. Madman glared at the sea beast. But at this time, Qin Feiyang retracted his gaze and said with a smile, Senior brother, let it go. Madman looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. I think I already know what's going on. Qin Feiyang whispered. Madman was stunned for a moment and let go of the sea beast. The sea beast immediately jumped into the sea and disappeared. What's going on? Madman looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Beast God. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. Beast God? Madman was stunned. Think about it carefully, who has the ability to make all the sea beasts in the heavenly cloud sea keep their mouths shut? Qin Feiyang asked. Madman narrowed his eyes and said, it must be the beast god of the heavenly cloud sea. That's right. If I'm not wrong, the person who repeatedly stopped me from opening the space-time gate in the heavenly cloud sea should also be him. Qin Feiyang said. This is very contradictory. It ordered the news to be sealed, this should be considered to be helping us. And stopping you from opening the space-time gate is harming us. What does it want to do? Madman raised his eyebrows. Maybe in its eyes, this is just a fun game. It wants to torment us and find some fun. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Find some fun? It's courting death. A row of black lines appeared on Madman's forehead. Qin Feiyang's expression changed as he hurriedly said, can you not talk nonsense? What if it hears us? Hear us? Do you really think it's a god? Madman rolled his eyes. But before he finished, a divine light descended from the sky and smashed towards Madman. Damn! Madman turned around and ran. Boom! The divine light instantly descended like a bolt of lightning, blasting Madman's body. His hair instantly exploded and his body was charred black. This scene was too sudden, and Qin Feiyang was also caught off guard. But fortunately, he wasn't affected. The divine light was like a flash in the pan, disappearing in an instant. Qin Feiyang looked at the sky, then turned around and walked to Madman with a gloating expression. He sniffed Madman's body and nodded, charred on the outside and tender on the inside, quite fragrant. After saying that, he activated an altar. The corner of Madman's mouth twitched. He raised his head and looked at the sky with lingering fear, then quickly jumped onto the altar. Little Madman, what's wrong with you? When the two returned to the vicinity of Wind Sea City and entered the Black Tortoise realm, Zhuo Xiaoxian immediately looked at Madman's appearance in surprise. I was careless with my words and offended the heavens, so I was struck by lightning. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Really? Zhuo Xiaoxian was surprised. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Little Madman, why don't you behave yourself? Is the heavens something you can offend? Are you all right? Zhuo Xiaoxian looked concerned. Are you a pig? You even believe his nonsense? Madman glanced at Zhuo Xiaoxian speechlessly, then cursed out loud, that bastard, sooner or later, I'm going to strike him with a thunderbolt. Then you have to work hard. Qin Feiyang laughed. You are laughing at me. Madman glared at Qin Feiyang, then turned around and went home to wash up. The next day. In the sky above Wind Sea City. A young man in blood-red clothes appeared and looked at the city below, his eyes full of contempt. Then he took a step forward, but he encountered the barrier set up by the city lord. Looking at the barrier, the young man in blood-red clothes was stunned. Who is it? How dare you barge into Wind Sea City? A few guards rushed into the sky and stared at the young man in blood-red clothes with murderous intent. Ask your city lord to come out and see me. The young man in blood-red clothes spoke, and his attitude immediately angered the guards. Who is this person? He seems to be very impressive. The people in the city below looked up at the young man in blood-red clothes, their eyes full of suspicion. Seeing that the guards were indifferent, the young man in blood-red clothes shouted with murderous intent in his eyes, Xing San, come out. Whoosh. Not long after, the burly man appeared and stood above the city lord's mansion, looking at the young man in blood-red clothes. Immediately, his expression changed, and he hurriedly shouted at the guards, don't be rude. Then, he rushed toward the young man in blood-red clothes like lightning. Zhuo Tiansheng, the city lord, and elder Yu also appeared. Looking at the young man in blood-red clothes, a trace of suspicion flashed in their eyes, and they quickly flew over. Open the barrier quickly. The burly man looked at the city lord and said. The city lord waved his hand, and the barrier opened. The young man in blood-red clothes entered the barrier, and without saying anything, he directly rushed in front of the guards. Sir, please spare our lives. The guards' expressions changed, and they hurriedly knelt in the void and begged. Even the messenger was so respectful, he must have a powerful background. Do you know who I am? How dare you show killing intent to me? The young man in blood-red clothes smiled proudly and slapped at them. Please have mercy. The city lord hurriedly shouted. However, the young man in blood-red clothes turned a deaf ear to him, and a powerful aura burst out. It was the level 1 immortal realm. The guards were only at the half-step immortal realm, and they were directly smashed into pieces by the young man in blood-red clothes. Chapter 3062. The city lord looked at the young man in red with a gloomy expression. They just talked back to you. Do you have to be so ruthless? The young man in red turned around and looked at the city lord. The burly man's expression changed. He hurriedly looked at the city lord and scolded, don't be rude. Apologize to the young master. Apologize? The city lord frowned. You've got guts. The young man in red walked toward the city lord step by step with an insufferably arrogant smile on his face. Please calm down, young master. The burly man saw that the situation wasn't good. He hurriedly stood in front of the city lord and explained, he's the city lord of Wind Sea City. Young master, please be merciful. The young man in red was stunned. He looked at the city lord and smiled, "So you're that trash city lord." The city lord was furious. Zhuo Tiansheng and Elder Yu were also furious. He actually dared to insult the city lord in public? The young man in red glanced at the city lord, then at Elder Yu and Zhuo Tiansheng. He said lightly, "Third Xing, who are they?" "Young master, his name is Zhuo Tiansheng. He's the vice city lord of Wen Si City. This is Elder Yu. He's a guest of the city lord's mansion." Third Xing introduced them one by one. The young man in red looked at Zhuo Tiansheng and Elder Yu and said contemptuously, "You're trash too." The two heard and clenched their fists. "You don't agree? It's been more than 50 years, and you can't even catch 2 half-step undying ants. If you're not trash, then what are you? In my opinion, calling you trash is a bit of a compliment." The young man in red didn't care about the three's face at all. He humiliated them without restraint. The city lord was so angry that he laughed and nodded, all right. If we're trash, then may I ask who you are?" "Young master. I'm afraid I'll scare you to death if I tell you," the young man in red said proudly. The city lord said, "Then tell us and see if you'll scare us to death. Can you stop talking?" Third Xing was extremely anxious. The young man in red said, "Third Xing, tell them." Third Xing sighed secretly. He stood beside the young man in red and looked at the city lord and the other three and said, "The one standing in front of you is the grandson of the vice city lord." "What?" The three's eyes. They had heard that the vice alliance leader had a grandson. Furthermore, his talent was monstrous. However, because he had always been by the vice alliance master's side and had never appeared in front of others, he did not know what he looked like. Who would have thought that it would be the person in front of him? "How is it? Did I scare you?" The blood-red clothed young man looked at the three of them proudly. "Sorry, we were blind. Please forgive us, young master." The three of them quickly lowered their heads and said. The blood-red clothed young man said, "So, do you admit that you're trash now?" When the three of them heard this, their eyes immediately filled with anger. Even if he was the grandson of the vice alliance leader, he shouldn't humiliate them in public like this. "I'm asking you a question. Are you all trash?" The red-clothed young man shouted. "Yes." The city lord gritted his teeth and endured the humiliation in his heart as he nodded. "That's more like it." The blood-red-clothed young man smiled proudly and looked at Third Xing. "This time, I came here for Qin Feiyang and Madman Mo." Third Xing was shocked and hurriedly said, "Young master, these two are not good people." "I know. Not only did they kidnap some trash's daughter, but they also killed some trash's 2 sons. But so what? In front of me, they're just trash." The blood-red-clothed young man smiled coldly. Zhuo Tiansheng lowered his head and his eyes were filled with anger. The person he was talking about was obviously him. He was the vice alliance leader of Wen Si City. How could he establish his authority in Wen Si City if he kept calling them trash? Was this how the grandson of the vice alliance leader was raised? Even so, he could only endure it. Because the identity of the vice alliance leader's grandson was enough to suffocate him. "Young master, let's go to the city lord mansion first." Third Xing also felt the anger in the city lord and the other two. He quickly looked at the blood-red-clothed young man and smiled obsequiously. The blood-red-clothed young man nodded and looked at the city lord and the other two. "I'll give you a mission." "Young master, please give us your orders." The city lord lowered his head and said. "Send them a letter of challenge. Tell them that I'll be waiting for them in Wen Si City. If they're still men, come to Wen Si City and fight with me." The blood-red-clothed young man's eyes flashed. "Them?" The city lord was stunned. "Not only are you trash, but you're also an idiot." "Of course, they're Qin Feiyang and Madman Mo." The blood-red-clothed young man mocked and walked towards the city lord mansion without looking back. "Hurry up and make the arrangements." Third Xing instructed and quickly chased after the blood-red-clothed young man. Damn, the grandson of the Vice Alliance leader is indeed arrogant. Yeah. He just came and already sent a letter of challenge to Qin Feiyang and Madman Mo. That attitude of not putting them in his eyes at all. The people below were discussing. High up in the sky, the city lord and the other two were gloomy. What the hell? Isn't he just relying on the Vice Alliance leader's support? He has no manners at all. He's even worse than those playboys in Wind Sea City. Elder Yu cursed angrily. Calm down. The city lord sighed secretly. My lord, how can I calm down like this? Old Zhua and I can forget about it, but you're the city lord of Wind Sea City, and a supreme existence at the perfect dominator realm. In the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, you're a senior figure. He's just a junior. What right does he have to be so domineering in front of you? Even if Qin Feiyang saw you, he would know to respectfully call you senior. Elder Yu was indignant. Enough, enough. Who asked him to be the grandson of the Vice Alliance leader? And since he was young, the Vice Alliance leader has kept him by his side and carefully protected him. It can be seen how much the Vice Alliance leader cares about him. We can't afford to offend such a person. The city lord shook his head and sighed. It's one thing to not offend him, but at least he should know some manners. Elder Yu is right. With his manners, he's even worse than those playboys in Wind Sea City. Zhuo Tianqing snorted coldly. You're still angry? As the city lord, I can tolerate it. Can't you? All right, hurry up and arrange it. I want to see what ability the person that the Vice Alliance leader has kept by his side and personally nurtured personally has. The city lord thought to himself. Ability? Zhuo Tianqing snorted disdainfully and sent a sound transmission. I think he only has the ability to be arrogant and despotic. Now, I hope that Qin Feiyang and little madman can appear and kill him directly. The city lord was shocked and immediately glared at Zhuo Tianqing. He thought to himself, don't say such things again in the future. Zhuo Tianqing pursed his lips and said, all right, we'll arrange it. Elder Yu, let's go. Elder Yu nodded. The two of them swooped down and disappeared like lightning. The city lord retracted his gaze and looked at the city lord mansion with a cold light in his eyes. Under the arrangement of Zhuo Tianqing and Elder Yu, the blood-red clothed youth's challenge quickly spread throughout Wind Sea City. In just a few days, all the cities in the eastern continent were discussing this matter. What? The grandson of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance's Vice Alliance leader actually personally issued a challenge? Who are Qin Feiyang and Madman Mo? Why haven't I heard of them before? Although Qin Feiyang and Madman Mo had caused a lot of trouble during this period of time, and they were wanted in all the major cities of the eastern continent, everyone was just curious at most. But now, when the blood-red clothed youth issued a challenge, the two of them instantly became famous. Because it was different. How could the grandson of the Vice Alliance leader personally issue a challenge? How could they be ordinary people? So everyone started to pay special attention to Qin Feiyang and Madman Mo. What? The grandson of the Vice Alliance leader personally came to Wind Sea City and issued a challenge to Qin Feiyang and Madman Mo? Cloud Sea City. Heavenly Delight Pavilion. Yun Xiang, the woman in a colorful dress, and the Tower Master of Heavenly Delight Pavilion looked at the staff before them with shock. Yes. Now, it's not just Heavenly Delight Pavilion. The entire Eastern continent is talking about it. The staff nodded. Yun Xiang pondered for a moment and waved to the staff, you go do your thing. Yes. The staff turned and left. Yun Xiang waved his hand and closed the door. He looked at the woman in a colorful dress and smiled bitterly. These two really know how to cause trouble. The woman in a colorful dress and the Tower Master of Heavenly Delight Pavilion shook their heads helplessly. They actually alarmed the grandson of the Vice Alliance leader. The Tower Master of Heavenly Delight Pavilion asked, Brother Yun, do you know the grandson of the Vice Alliance leader? No. But I've heard of him. It's said that he's a very monstrous person. The Vice Alliance leader has been keeping him by his side to nurture him, but he also seems to be an extremely ruthless person. Yun Xiang said. The Tower Master of Heavenly Delight Pavilion said worriedly, this time, Qin Dage and Madman Mo might be at a disadvantage. I don't know if they will be at a disadvantage, but I'm sure that if they accept the challenge, the battle will be very exciting. Why don't we go to Wine Sea City and take a look now? Yun Xiang suggested. Now? Qin Dage and Madman Mo haven't accepted the challenge yet, right? The Tower Master of Heavenly Delight Pavilion was stunned. You don't understand this, do you? The challenge of the Vice Alliance leader's grandson is a rare occurrence. Once this news is out, I believe that many people will be like us and go to Wind Sea City to take a look. If we're late, I'm afraid we won't even be able to enter the city. Yun Xiang said with a smile. That makes sense. The Tower Master of Heavenly Delight Pavilion nodded and looked at the woman in a colorful dress. Meow meow, shall we go now? As long as you guys are happy. Meow meow smiled. At the same time. Demon Palace. It can't be. That old thing is actually willing to let his precious grandson go to Wine Sea City? The Demon Palace Hall Master looked at Chu Yun, who was sitting below, in shock. This matter has already spread throughout the entire Eastern continent. Even many of our Demon Palace's disciples are already on their way to Wine Sea City. This matter can't be fake. These two little fellows really didn't disappoint us. They're getting out of hand. The corners of Chu Yun's mouth curled up slightly with a hint of playfulness. It's not that they're getting out of hand. It's the Vice Alliance leader who's unwilling to let go. I think there's not only a problem, but a huge problem. How's your investigation going? The Demon Palace Hall Master asked. The spies we arranged in the Rogue Cultivator Alliance can't get close to that old thing, so it's very difficult to investigate. Chu Yun shook her head. What about the alliance leader of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance? The Demon Palace Hall Master asked. Chu Yun said, this person seems to be hiding somewhere in seclusion. He doesn't seem to know about this matter yet. However, you don't have to worry. We can't investigate, but someone can. Who? The Demon Palace Hall Master was suspicious. I heard from Elder Hua that Qin Feiyang and Chu Yun seem to have become interested in the Vice Alliance leader. Think about it. As the parties involved, they will definitely do whatever it takes to investigate this matter. Chu Yun smiled. Do you mean that we just have to wait and enjoy the fruits of their labor? The Demon Palace Hall Master said. Of course it's best if we don't put in any effort. Chu Yun giggled. You little girl, the Demon Palace Hall Master shook his head and smiled. After pondering for a moment, he said, all right then. Since Elder Hua is watching, we don't have to worry. Chapter 3063. The Eastern Continent was in turmoil, but Qin Feiyang and the madman were unaware of it. Because in the Sky Cloud realm, other than Zhuo Tiansheng, they had not established a contract bridge with anyone, so naturally, no one informed them. As for Zhuo Tiansheng, now that he hated them to the bone, he definitely would not take the initiative to send them a message. Unsurprisingly, the blood-red clothed youth had to wait for a long time. Because Qin Feiyang and the madman were now in seclusion, refining soul stones while comprehending the law profundity. Although they were multitasking, it was not a big problem for the two of them. And Qin Feiyang had only comprehended the first profundity of his three-law profundity. Although the madman had comprehended the second profundity of the law of slaughter, there was no progress in the other two. The law profundity was not only a powerful method, but also a necessary condition to step into the sovereign realm. And now, their cultivation had already stepped into the initial imperishable realm, and seeing that they were getting closer and closer to the peak, they naturally could not neglect the law profundity. Day after day, year after year passed. On this day, in the sky above the herb field, suddenly, a space-time storm appeared, emitting a terrifying destructive wave, instantly engulfing a large area of the void. This was the third profundity of the law of space, space-time storm. But soon, the space-time storm disappeared. That's right. This was Qin Baishan's breakthrough. Because in the Black Tortoise realm, only he had mastered the law of space. Some more years passed. Boom! A mysterious power surged out from one of the pavilions and into the sky. The sky above the Devil's Land immediately turned into nothingness. Little Wimp immediately appeared, staring at the area of nothingness with a trace of shock in his eyes. Soon, the phenomenon of nothingness also disappeared, and everything quickly returned to normal. Little Wimp's gaze fell on the pavilion. This pavilion was where Lu Zhengyang lived. The law of nothingness, not bad. With a murmur, Little Wimp disappeared. Almost every few years, some phenomena would appear in the Devil's Land. These phenomena were all formed by the law profundity. Because it was not Qin Feiyang, the madman, Qin Batian, and Lu Zhengyang who were working hard, the others were working hard as well. For example, Mu Tianyang and the Fiend Ancestor. Then there was Xia Yuan and the other 50 divine generals. Some of them cultivated in the Devil's Land, while others went out to comprehend the power of laws. More or less, they all gained something. Another few years passed. A dazzling divine light suddenly rushed out from a courtyard. It was not very powerful, but it contained a shocking wave of life energy that was as boundless as an ocean, instantly covering the entire Devil's Land. This is the law of life. Little Wimp appeared once again, his eyes filled with shock. Tap, along with the sound of light footsteps, a woman walked out of the pavilion. Her skin was sparkling and translucent, and she was tall and slender. She wore a light golden dress, and her wavy golden hair danced in the wind. The life energy that permeated the Devil's Land came from her. At this moment, she was like a goddess of life, charming and graceful. That was right. She was the Mermaid Princess. It doesn't seem that difficult. The Mermaid Princess glanced at the surrounding life energy, and with a thought, all the life energy immediately returned to her body. Not that difficult. Little Wimp's mouth twitched slightly when he heard this, but he didn't say anything and directly disappeared without a trace. Boom! Another few years passed. A terrifying and ferocious aura suddenly erupted from within the ancient castle. Following closely, a dark energy surged into the sky, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws, like a peerless beast. At this moment, all the people in the Devil's Land who had comprehended the law profundity felt great fear. It was as if the law profundity was being pulled out of their bodies by a mysterious force. What's going on? Qin Feiyang and the madman were the first to wake up. Because they were inside the ancient castle. The two ran out of the cultivation room and looked at a tightly closed stone door. What is this white-eyed wolf doing? The madman frowned. What's the situation? Qin Batian, Lu Zhengyang, Mermaid Princess, Fire Lotus, and the others ran in one after another, their faces full of surprise. Qin Feiyang looked at them and asked, "Do you also have the illusion that the law profundity is being plundered?" The Mermaid Princess nodded. Qin Feiyang was speechless. What are you nodding for? You didn't comprehend the law profundity. The Mermaid Princess was slightly taken aback and said with a smile, "Who said I didn't comprehend the law profundity?" What? Qin Feiyang looked at her in a daze. A few years ago, I comprehended the law of life. The Mermaid Princess smiled proudly. Law of life? Qin Feiyang and the madman looked at each other. Boom! At this time, the dark energy that rushed out of the cultivation room was even more terrifying. At this moment, Qin Feiyang and the others felt an extremely clear sense of crisis. What kind of terrifying killing move did this white-eyed wolf comprehend? Everyone was bewildered. The law profundity felt threatened. Could it be that it had comprehended a peerless killing technique that could deprive the law profundity? As soon as this thought appeared, everyone's hearts couldn't help but tremble. Needless to say, there was really such a possibility. Because the white-eyed wolf's innate ability, the first was to deprive the battle's soul, and the second was to deprive the cultivation. And they were both permanent. It was also very possible to deprive the law profundity. A moment later, the black energy gradually poured into the cultivation room, and the threat in the hearts of Qin Feiyang and the others finally disappeared. Huh, what are you all looking at outside for? Don't you have anything else to do? The white-eyed wolf's voice came from inside, but that complacent laughter was undisguised. Come out. Qin Feiyang said. I'm not free. The white-eyed wolf responded and then went silent. No matter how Qin Feiyang called out, it ignored him, pretending to be mysterious all day long. Frenzy curled his lips. Qin Feiyang could directly barge in. After all, he was the owner of the ancient castle, and it was only a matter of thought for him to go anywhere. But thinking about it, there was no need. Because even if he went in and found the white-eyed wolf, if the white-eyed wolf didn't say anything, there was nothing he could do. Let's disperse, let's disperse. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, but then seemed to think of something and said, wait. He quickly looked at the mermaid princess and asked, you just said that you comprehended the law of life? Yes. The mermaid princess nodded. Qin Feiyang said, is it the law of life in the 6-word divine formula? I'm not sure about that. Besides, the life and death of the 6-word divine formula might not necessarily imply the law of life and death. The mermaid princess shook her head. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. It seemed to make sense, because until now, he still hadn't figured out what this life and death represented. However, this little girl comprehending the law of life was really surprising. Qin Feiyang asked, how did you comprehend it? Just thinking about it, I suddenly had an epiphany. The mermaid princess said it very casually, but Qin Feiyang and the others were speechless. Just thinking about it and suddenly had an epiphany? This was really infuriating. Alright, continue. Qin Feiyang and Frenzy looked at each other and returned to their respective cultivation rooms powerlessly. The mermaid princess and the others also left one after another. Qin Rushwang glanced at the mermaid princess and said with a pout, you really make people envious. There's no need, isn't it just a law of life? The mermaid princess chuckled. Isn't it just a law of life? Qin Rushwang rubbed her forehead and looked at the sky. This damn girl's words were so infuriating. The law of life and death could be said to be the strongest law in the world. Because they represented life and death. Who in the world could escape from life and death? Therefore, the law of life and death was the law of life that countless creatures dreamed of. But this damn girl, not only did she comprehend it, but she also said it in a casual tone. How could she, who didn't even comprehend the most ordinary law of life, endure this? It was a blow to her. No. She couldn't stay behind closed doors anymore. She had to go out for a walk. Qin Rushwang muttered and turned to leave without looking back. Sister Rushwang, where are you going? The mermaid princess hurriedly asked. I'm going to go out and find a man to come back. Otherwise, I'll really become an old leftover woman. Qin Rushwang said without looking back. The mermaid princess was stunned and then couldn't help but shake her head and laugh. It seemed that Sister Rushwang was quite concerned about being called an old leftover woman. Chapter 3064. On the third morning after the white-eyed wolf's incident, Zhuo Shaoxian received a message. Father? Zhuo Shaoxian was startled as she took out the communicative stone, before she immediately received the message. It was indeed Zhuo Tiansheng. Father. Zhuo Shaoxian was extremely excited. It had been tens of thousands of years since she last saw her father in the Xian Wu world. She missed him a lot. Zhuo Tiansheng looked at his daughter guiltily and asked, how have you been these years? I've been fine. How about you? Zhuo Shaoxian nodded. Same old. Zhuo Tiansheng wore a faint smile, but his expression was rather haggard. Zhuo Shaoxian asked suspiciously, Father, did you encounter any trouble? Just some trivial matters. Zhuo Tianxing waved his hand and asked, Daughter, you won't blame me, will you? Blame you? Zhuo Shaoxian was slightly startled, before she blurted out, I can't thank you enough for helping me and little lunatic. Why would I blame you? Zhuo Tianxing was startled. He glanced at Zhuo Shaoxian suspiciously. Did this girl not know about the severing of the father-daughter relationship? Shaoxian, let's go for a walk. At this moment, the mermaid princess voice could be heard from outside. She then entered the room with a gentle smile. However, when she saw Zhuo Tianxing, the mermaid princess' eyes widened. She immediately went up to him and said with a smile, Master Zhuo. You are? Zhuo Tianxing glanced at the mermaid princess suspiciously. Father, she's the sister-in-law I told you about. She's very nice to me. Zhuo Shaoxian quickly explained. Zhuo Tianxing came to a realization, I see. Thank you for taking care of Shaoxian. Shaoxian is like my own sister to me. It's my duty to take care of her. The mermaid princess let out a smile. She turned around and took the communicative stone from Zhuo Shaoxian's hand. She then looked at Zhuo Shaoxian and said, Shaoxian, can you leave us alone for a moment? I have some personal matters to discuss with your father. Can't I listen? Zhuo Shaoxian was startled. Be good. The mermaid princess smiled faintly. All right. Zhuo Shaoxian nodded helplessly, then turned and walked out of the room. The mermaid princess waved her hand and the door slowly closed. She looked at Zhuo Tianxing and said, We haven't told Shaoxian that you've severed ties with your daughter. I really don't know. Zhuo Tianxing mumbled. We're doing this for her own good. After all, you're very important to her. If he knew about this, he would definitely run to you regardless of the consequences. Now that she's wanted everywhere, she'll definitely die if she runs out. The mermaid princess said. Thank you for always thinking of Xian. Zhuo Tianxing said gratefully, and then said in a deep voice, But I don't understand, why did you kill my 2 sons? Has the Vice Alliance leader of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance let you go? The mermaid princess replied with a question. Yes. Zhuo Tianxing nodded. Then, he froze and hurriedly asked, Are you really helping me? That's right. After all, you're Shaoxian's father. And you're also helping Shaoxian and senior brother Frenzy, so of course we won't let you bear this pressure alone. The mermaid princess nodded. Then we can think of other ways. After all, they are my children, Shaoxian's biological brothers. Zhuo Tianxing frowned. You might not know us well. Anyone who is targeted by us is basically a person who deserves to die. Speaking of which, you're still very incompetent as a father. You didn't even notice the matter between your children. The mermaid princess shook her head. You said they all deserve to die? Zhuo Tianxing couldn't accept it. Instead of questioning me, you might as well pay attention to your sons. The mermaid princess didn't explain. Some things had to be discovered by the person involved. Zhuo Tianxing frowned. She actually said that he was incompetent? What did she say about paying attention to his sons? Could it be, suddenly? His gaze trembled as he looked at the mermaid princess in disbelief. He asked, Shaoxian and them. As the deputy city lord of a super-large city like Wind Sea City, how could he be an idiot? So he thought of something, but it was hard to accept for a moment. The mermaid princess waved her hand and said, Don't ask me, you can slowly observe for yourself. All right. Zhuo Tianxing nodded and then said, Where are Qin Badian and Little Frenzy? They're all in seclusion. The mermaid princess said truthfully. Hearing this, Zhuo Tianxing wanted to say something but hesitated. The mermaid princess smiled and said, If there's anything you want to say, just say it. There's indeed one thing. Zhuo Tianxing explained the situation of the blood-red clothed youth in detail. The deputy leader's grandson? The mermaid princess was taken aback. Yes. Zhuo Tianxing nodded. The mermaid princess pondered for a moment and nodded. All right, I'll go tell Feiyang and senior brother Frenzy right away. Don't talk nonsense. Although this person is arrogant, he's still the deputy leader's grandson. We can't afford to offend him. I'm not telling you to kill him, but to tell you to be careful in the future. Zhuo Tianxing said. Thank you. The mermaid princess smiled slightly and called Zhuo Shaoxian in. She then entered the castle and found Frenzy and Qin Feiyang. Hearing this, Qin Feiyang and Zhuo Shaoxian were also quite surprised. Even the deputy leader's grandson had come. They really thought highly of them. Zhuo Tianxing said not to provoke him. The mermaid princess said. The key is that he's the one provoking us now. Besides, he even issued a challenge. If we still hide, how can we survive in the sky cloud realm in the future? Frenzy laughed. The mermaid princess was helpless. She knew it would end like this. Qin Feiyang glanced at Frenzy, then looked at the mermaid princess and asked, what's this person's character like? Not good. I heard from Zhuo Tianxing that this person is extremely arrogant. When he first appeared in Wind Sea City, he arrogantly and unreasonably killed a few guards. He even insulted Zhuo Tianxing and the other two in front of everyone. And these years, he has been mingling in various brothels, seeking pleasure all day long. The mermaid princess said. No way. Even Zhuo Tianxing and the others are like this? Frenzy was stunned. Yes. So you can imagine how arrogant this person is. The mermaid princess nodded. What about his cultivation? Qin Feiyang asked. It seems to be a beginner-level immortal realm. The mermaid princess said. What the hell, a beginner-level immortal realm is so arrogant? Frenzy frowned. Cough cough. Senior brother, you are also a beginner-level immortal realm, but you don't seem to be more low-key than him. Qin Feiyang coughed dryly and kindly reminded him. How can we be the same? He is arrogant because of his grandfather behind him, but I am relying on myself. There is a big difference. Frenzy curled his lips. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but laugh. Don't be long-winded, let's go and take a look. Frenzy urged. You guys really want to go? The mermaid princess looked at the two. Of course. A cold light flashed in Frenzy's eyes. Yes, we have to go. Qin Feiyang nodded. But, the mermaid princess was a little worried. Why does the vice leader want to kill us? This is the question we have been trying to figure out. But we don't even know where the vice leader is, so there is no way to investigate. And now, his grandson has taken the initiative to come to our door, so why should we be polite? Moreover, I like to deal with this kind of playboy the most. Frenzy sneered. All right. The mermaid princess nodded, looked at the two, and said, then you guys be careful. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed slightly, looked at Frenzy, and said with a smile, actually, this matter isn't urgent. Why? Frenzy was suspicious. As the grandson of the vice leader, he has already issued the challenge. Without seeing us, his pride won't allow him to leave. We might as well continue to cultivate for a period of time. I feel that I have already comprehended the second profound of the three laws. Give me some more time, and I should be able to comprehend it. Qin Feiyang said. I agree. After all, he is the grandson of the vice leader. We can't underestimate him. The more tricks you guys have, the more chances you have of winning. The mermaid princess nodded. Frenzy lowered his head and thought for a moment before gritting his teeth. All right, let him wait. Coincidentally, I have also comprehended the third profound of the slaughter law. Qin Feiyang nodded, then sized up Frenzy, and said, speaking of which, what kind of law did you inherit in the temple? It's none of your business. Frenzy turned around and entered the cultivation room, leaving Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess looking at each other. The white-eyed wolf is like this, and so is he. Can't we have fun together? Qin Feiyang collected his thoughts and shook his head helplessly. What's the rush? We'll find out sooner or later. The mermaid princess smiled. Meanwhile, Zhuo Tiansheng and Zhuo Shaoxian chatted for a while before returning to the city lord's mansion. Not only was Xing Sen a terrifying expert in the city lord's mansion, the young man in a blood-red outfit was also there. Therefore, he would definitely not be at the city lord's mansion. After returning to the city lord's mansion, he sat alone in the main hall with his head lowered. His eyes were glittering, as if he was thinking about something. A while later, Old Man Yu came in and closed the door. He transmitted his voice. Did you see Shaoxian? Yes. Zhuo Tianxing nodded. Is she doing well? Old Man Yu asked with a smile. Not bad. Qin Feiyang and the others are treating her well too. Besides, I know that Qin Badian and Little Crazy did cause a ruckus at the Purple Smoke Pagoda to help me. Zhuo Tianxing transmitted his voice. Old Man Yu was slightly startled, before he mumbled, that's a good thing. Why do you look so troubled? Zhuo Tianxing pondered for a while, before he raised his head and looked at Old Man Yu. Old Man Yu, even though you're a consecrator of the city lord's mansion, both the city lord and I treat you like family. I can feel that. Old Man Yu nodded and said in a suspicious tone, but why are you suddenly mentioning this? Zhuo Tianxing said, then let me ask you, if the relationship between my children isn't as simple as it seems, what should I do? Well, I don't quite understand. Old Man Yu shook his head. To be honest, when I was talking to Qin Feiyang, I vaguely revealed some bad news. Shaoxian has been having a hard time in the city lord's mansion. And it's all because of her brothers. Zhuo Tianxing sighed. You mean, they're jealous of how much you dote on Shaoxian? Old Man Yu was surprised. Yes. So I want you to investigate this matter for me. You must get to the bottom of it. Zhuo Tianxing looked at Old Man Yu pleadingly. He wanted to investigate it himself, but he was afraid of seeing the truth and feeling upset. Old Man Yu looked deeply at Zhuo Tianxing and nodded, okay, I'll do it right away. With that, he turned around and left quickly. I hope it's not what I think. After Zhuo Tianxing watched Old Man Yu leave, he looked up at the top of the hall and muttered to himself. Chapter 3065. Time flew by. One day, half a month later, Elder Yu went to find Zhuo Tianxing with a heavy heart. The mayor happened to be there as well. He had also learned of some things. Looking at Elder Yu's expression, the two of them, who were originally in a good mood, immediately fell. Tell me. Zhuo Tianxing took a deep breath and looked at Elder Yu. According to my investigation in the past half a month, I found that there is indeed something wrong with the young masters. Elder Yu sighed. Although Zhuo Tianxing was mentally prepared, he still couldn't help but close his eyes in pain. The mayor glanced at Zhuo Tianxing, then asked Elder Yu, do they deserve to die? To outsiders, they do. Elder Yu said. In other words, it was up to Zhuo Tianxing as a father to bear with it. Sigh. We've been living by Shaoxian's side all this time, but we didn't notice at all. I'm not a qualified foster father, and you're not a qualified father either. The mayor turned to Zhuo Tianxing and sighed. The funniest thing is that I need someone else to remind me. How stupid am I? How did Shaoxian survive all these years? I finally understand why she didn't want to come back with us. She was tired of this home and the people here. Zhuo Tianxing clenched his fists, his face full of self-blame. Shaoxian knew that you were usually very busy and didn't want to tell you. She didn't want to destroy this home, so she endured it alone. What a sensible child. Elder Yu smiled with relief. The mayor looked at Elder Yu and nodded. Yes, she has always been very sensible. Then, he turned to Zhuo Tianxing and asked, Old Zhuo, what do you plan to do? A home without sincerity or kinship, only scheming and scheming. Is this even a home? Zhuo Tianxing's eyes were filled with murderous intent. Elder Yu's heart trembled. Why don't you give them another chance? After all, they are your flesh and blood. Give them a chance? Have they ever given Xiao Xian a chance? You've all seen Xiao Xian's attitude towards them. She just wants to use sincerity to influence them. But have they ever given her a chance? No. Even when Xiao Xian was kidnapped by the madman, they weren't worried at all. Instead, they were gloating. Zhuo Tianxing slammed his palm on the tea table and suddenly stood up. He roared, although I, Zhuo Tianxing, am cruel and merciless, I still care about my family. But what about them? These heartless people must be killed. At worst, I'll just give birth to a few more in the future. From this, it was not hard to see that Zhuo Tianxing was indeed a ruthless person. However, it was undeniable that he was also a man who cared about his family and had principles. All right. Old man Yu nodded, then said, but now, they're fighting fiercely with Yi Yuan. It's not good to make a move. At the mention of this, Zhuo Tianxing became even angrier. Yi Yuan was the blood-robed youth. Back then, Yi Yuan had publicly humiliated him, the city lord, and elder Yu. But these unfilial sons, not only did they not stand up for him, they even fooled around with Yi Yuan every day. Flattering and fawning, as if Yi Yuan was their real father. The city lord thought for a moment, then looked at Zhuo Tianxing and said, Old Zhuo, let's put this aside for now. We'll talk about it after Yi Yuan and Third Xing leave. Then when do you think they will leave? Zhuo Tianxing asked. How would I know? The city lord smiled bitterly. That's right. As the grandson of the vice leader, Yi Yuan has already issued a challenge in public. Before seeing Qin Feiyang and the little lunatic, how can he just leave like this? If these unfilial sons follow him for a long time, who knows what they will become? Zhuo Tianxing said. I understand, but we really can't touch them now. The city lord said. Sigh. I have to look at other people's faces to kill a few unfilial sons. I'm really a coward as the vice city lord. Zhuo Tianxing was furious. On the street. Big brother Yi, which chick do you think is not bad? 11 young men in luxurious clothes were following behind a young man in blood-red clothes. They were constantly pointing at the passing girls and laughing obscenely without stopping. That's right. This group of people was Yi Yuan and Zhuo Tianxing's sons. She's not bad. Yi Yuan looked at the girl. She looked to be about 17 or 18 years old. She looked fresh and very cute. Hearing this, the group of playboys immediately ran up and grabbed the young girl. What are you doing? The girl suddenly exclaimed. The people around looked over. Although their eyes were full of sympathy, no one stepped forward to stop them. Not to mention Yi Yuan, even the Zhuo family's playboys were not people they dared to offend. Don't be shameless. Don't be chosen by Big Brother Yi. It's your honor. So. The 11 young men dragged the young girl and walked in front of Yi Yuan. Don't be afraid. I won't hurt you. You just have to accompany me for a few drinks. Yi Yuan pinched the girl's chin and chuckled. I don't want, young Master Yi, I beg you, let me go. The young girl exclaimed, her face pale. You really don't want face. The Zhuo family's third young master immediately slapped the girl's face. Yi Yuan grabbed the Zhuo family's third young master's arm and said unhappily, a dignified man hitting a person, don't you feel ashamed? Besides, you hurt her. Who's going to accompany me for a drink? Big brother Yi, I'm sorry. The Zhuo family's third young master hurriedly bowed and smiled flatteringly. Yi Yuan let go of the Zhuo family's third young master and looked at the young girl with a smile. Little girl, I'll ask you one last time. Do you want to accompany me for a drink? The young girl's face was full of fear. A forcibly picked melon is not sweet. Since you don't want to, then forget it. Yi Yuan shook his head, got up and left disappointedly. Thank you for your mercy, young master. The young girl said gratefully. However, Before she finished speaking, Yi Yuan waved his hand without looking back. A ray of divine power swept out and entered the girl's forehead. Ah, accompanied by a painful scream, a blood puppet suddenly appeared on the girl's head. Blood flowed like a stream. Immediately, the girl fell straight to the ground. Did you see that? Don't hit a girl. Just kill a disobedient one. This is what a man should do. Do you understand? Yi Yuan seemed to have done something very proud. He said to the Zhuo family's playboys without looking back. Yes, yes, yes. Big brother Yi is indeed a real man. We will remember. The group of playboys nodded their heads. Bullying men and tyrannizing women. Killing people when they don't obey. Simply insane. After Yi Yuan's group left, the people on the street looked at the young girl lying in a pool of blood. Their eyes were filled with grief and indignation. But what could they do? The grandson of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance's Vice Alliance leader. Even the two city lords had to bow their heads, let alone ordinary people like them. Daughter, don't worry. Evil people have their own retribution. Sooner or later, he will suffer retribution. An old man walked forward. Looking at the young girl who died with her eyes open, he raised his wrinkled and calloused hand and slowly closed the girl's eyes. The old man and the young girl did not know each other. However, he could not bear to see her corpse on the street. He carried the young girl and walked out of the city to find a place to bury her. That's right. He will definitely suffer retribution. And the Zhuo family's trash. They will not have a good ending if they help a villain do evil. Everyone roared in their hearts. At the city gate, thousands of people lined up in a long line, entering and exiting. When the old man carried the young girl's corpse and walked out, everyone retreated to the side. Another one. So inhumane. Someone cursed in a low voice. The city guards heard these curses but did not reprimand them, let alone capture them. This was because there was a trace of anger in their eyes. Yes. This was not the first time. In these years, who knew how many young and beautiful girls had suffered from Yi Yuan's scourge? Old man, your granddaughter is. When the old man carried the girl's corpse and walked a few miles away from the city gate, two young men came forward and looked at the old man suspiciously. She is not this old man's granddaughter. The old man stopped and said hoarsely. If she is not your granddaughter, then is she your daughter? One of the two young men was dressed in black and the other was dressed in white. Their auras were restrained and they looked amiable. She is also not this old man's daughter. The old man shook his head. Then who is she? The two of them were suspicious. She is a pitiful girl. The old man shook his head and sighed. He carried the girl's corpse and walked past the two young men, gradually disappearing into the mountains. The two young men looked at each other. What was going on? A middle-aged man who was passing by witnessed the entire process with his own eyes. Looking at the old man's back, he could not help but sigh. Then, the middle-aged man looked at the two young men and said, "Two brothers, this is your first time in Wind Sea City, right?" "Yes." The two of them nodded. "No wonder you don't know. That old man is a kind-hearted person. He went to bury the girl's corpse." The middle-aged man said. "Then what's going on?" The two young men frowned. "You don't know, but a few years ago, a person from Yi Yuan came to our Wind Sea City. He is the grandson of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance's deputy leader. Ever since he came to Wind Sea City, he has been harming the girls in the city. If we follow his wishes, it will be fine. Although we will lose our innocence, we can at least keep our lives. But if we don't, this beast will directly kill them. I think the girl in the old man's arms should have been killed like this." The middle-aged man sighed. "What? Is there still any humanity in this?" The two young men were furious. "So what if there's no humanity? Even the two city lords have to be respectful in front of him, let alone us ordinary people. In the past few years, the number of girls who have died tragically in Yi Yuan's hands is at least 800 if not 1,000. It has long aroused the anger of both men and gods, but who can do anything to him? The most hateful thing is that the Zhua family's playboy scum. As the son of the city lord, not only did he not think of a way to protect us, but he also helped the tiger do evil. God is blind. The middle-aged man cried out in grief. Zhua Tianqing's son? The two young men frowned. Who else could it be besides them? Let's not talk about it anymore. If you have any family members, especially young women, don't let them enter Wine Sea City. The middle-aged man warned, then turned around and left quickly. Chapter 3066. Yi Yuan, deputy leader's grandson, I thought he was at most a playboy, but I didn't expect him to be a heartless bastard. The two young men's eyes flashed with cold light, full of disgust. Suddenly, the two disappeared without warning. The pedestrians coming and going looked at the two people who suddenly disappeared. They couldn't help but be stunned, but they weren't too surprised. Because in the sky cloud boundary, spatial divine objects weren't rare. They only thought that the two young men who disappeared went to the spatial divine object. Soon. In a small alley in the city. The alley was relatively remote and empty. Two figures appeared out of thin air. It was the two young men who disappeared before. The black-clothed young man looked up at the people on the street outside the alley and laughed. How do you think we should deal with Yi Yuan later? As long as you're happy. The white-clothed young man said. Ha! The black-clothed young man looked up and laughed, then walked out of the alley. Too much. Too much. Do you still have any humanity? Not long after. There was a commotion in front. The two young men walked over and saw a 17 or 18-year-old girl lying in a pool of blood. Her eyes were full of despair. Yi Yuan did it again? The black-clothed young man looked at a woman next to him and asked. Who else could it be besides him? The woman lamented. Bastard, if I don't kill him, I swear I'm not a man. The black-clothed young man roared. Shoo! What are you doing? Do you know what will happen if he hears you? Young man, it's good that you hate evil, but you also have to know how to surrender. This kind of person is not someone we can provoke. The people around quickly looked at the black-clothed young man and advised. There is no such word as surrender in my dictionary, just you wait. The black-clothed young man smiled ferociously, looked at the crowd around him and asked, where did he go? Young man, I can see that you're a good person, but you can't go looking for death. An old man exclaimed. Thank you for your concern, but there is a good saying, a man should be indomitable. When encountering such an outrageous thing, if you still go against your conscience and stand by, then what kind of man are you? I'm not afraid of death, but I'm afraid of dying without value. The black-clothed youth said in a deep voice. The old man stared blankly at the black-clothed youth. He never thought that there would be such a righteous young man in this world. How rare. All right. I'll tell you. They went to Fengyue brothel. But you must be careful. The old man said. Thank you, uncle. The young man in black clasped his hands together and smiled. He then followed the direction everyone was pointing and headed towards Fengyue brothel. The white-clothed young man glanced at the woman lying in a pool of blood, and a bone-piercing killing intent flashed across his eyes. Wind Moon Brothel. Just by hearing its name, one would know that it was a genuine brothel. The people coming in and out were all high-ranking officials and dignitaries. However, at this moment, the entire Fengyue brothel was dead silent. In the center of the hall, Yi Yuan was sitting alone at a dining table. There were all kinds of delicacies on the table. There was a woman sitting in his arms. This girl was also 16 years old and her face was deathly pale. Clearly, she was not happy, but she did not dare to resist. Because if he resisted, he would definitely die. The 11 good-for-nothings of the Zhua family sat in a circle at the table next to him. There was also fine wine and delicacies on the table. Apart from them, the other guests were all trembling in fear, not daring to even breathe loudly. A group of waiters from the restaurant also stood cautiously behind Yi Yuan, awaiting his orders. This wine is not bad. Yi Yuan held a wine cup, put it to his nose and took a sniff, then smiled. As long as young master likes it. One of the waiters hurriedly smiled flatteringly. Yi Yuan held the wine cup and handed it to the woman in his arms. He smiled and said, "Come, try it." "I can't drink," the woman shook her head, tears already flowing out. "Can't drink?" Yi Yuan was stunned. "Don't be a wet blanket for big brother Yi." The third young master of the Zhua family immediately looked at the woman and scolded her. Don't. Yi Yuan waved his hand and played with the woman's fingers. He smiled and said, "As a man, you must know how to take care of women." Yes. The third young master of the Zhua family nodded repeatedly. Yi Yuan looked at the woman in his arms and smiled. "If you can't drink, then you should know something else." After saying that, Yi Yuan grabbed the woman's hair and slammed her on the table with a bang. The woman screamed, immediately bleeding from her mouth and nose. Following that, Yi Yuan stood up and looked at the woman's figure, his eyes full of evil laughter. "All of you turn around." The third young master of the Zhua family knew what Yi Yuan wanted to do with one look and immediately shouted at the people around him. Seeing this scene, everyone also knew what was going to happen next. A trace of anger involuntarily appeared in their eyes. In public with so many people watching, he actually did such a dirty thing to a good girl. How inhumane. But they only dared to be angry but did not dare to say anything. They looked at the woman sympathetically and turned their heads away one after another. What a good figure. Yi Yuan was more and more satisfied. "Young master, please, let me go." The woman desperately begged. "Don't worry, this young master will take care of women." Yi Yuan chuckled and hugged the woman from behind. "This is too much." It was also at this moment. There was a youth in embroidered clothes upstairs who stood up angrily. The youth in embroidered clothes had two companions and immediately held him down. "Meow meow, don't be rash. If your female identity is exposed, we will be in trouble." The two of them persuaded. That's right. These three people were Yun Xiang and Yi Miao, the tower master of Tianyue Tower. The two women were disguised as men. "I'm not afraid. This kind of beast deserves to die." Yi Miao gritted her teeth, her eyes full of anger. Yun Xiang and the tower master of Tianyue Tower looked at each other and looked at Yi Yuan below with a look of disgust. Where are the staff here? Why is no one coming out to welcome the guests? Suddenly, a dissatisfied and angry shout was heard. Everyone looked at the entrance of the restaurant and saw two young men striding into the restaurant. It was the youth in black and the youth in white. Looking at the scene in front of them, their eyes flashed with murderous intent. "Young masters, we are sorry for the delay." A waiter quickly ran up and smiled obsequiously. "It's okay." The youth in black waved his hand and looked at Yi Yuan in a daze. What is he doing? The waiter wanted to say something but stopped. Are you stupid? He is about to take off his clothes. What else can he do? The youth in white shook his head in disdain. Ah. The youth in black looked at Yi Yuan in shock and asked, "You are going to do it here? Isn't this a show for everyone?" As they spoke, the two of them walked towards Yi Yuan. "Young masters, don't go." The waiter quickly stopped them. "Why don't we go? Such an exciting show. We have to watch it from a close distance." The youth in black pushed the waiter away and walked straight to Yi Yuan's table. He ignored everyone's shocked gaze and sat down directly opposite Yi Yuan. "What are you doing?" The dozen of Zhua family's playboys immediately stood up and shouted sternly. "Are they courting death?" The others also looked at the two of them in shock. They actually sat opposite Yi Yuan so openly. Wasn't this a deliberate provocation? Looks like we don't have to do anything. Yun Xiang looked at the two youths and laughed. Yi Miao also returned to her seat and said in surprise, they actually dared to provoke Yi Yuan. They must have eaten a lion's heart and leopard's guts. Either they have the confidence, or they are newborn calves who are not afraid of tigers. But I am more willing to believe that it is the former. After all, Yi Yuan's identity is now known by everyone in Winxi City. Yun Xiang smiled. Yi Miao and the owner of Tianyue Tower glanced at Yun Xiang and then looked at the two youths below. Then they looked at Yi Yuan. He let go of the woman and looked at the two youths in black sitting opposite him. He could not help but frown slightly. Don't be embarrassed. You continue. We are just watching and learning. Don't say anything. The youth in black also looked at Yi Yuan without fear and smiled. Yi Yuan returned to the table and chair. A trace of playfulness crept up in his eyes. The woman hurriedly tidied up her dress. As if she had seen her savior, she ran behind the two youths and cried silently. The youth in black looked at the woman and turned to look at the youth at the next table. He said, "Give me the wine." Okay. That person nodded repeatedly and hurriedly handed the wine flask that still had half a flask of wine left to the youth in black. The youth in black grabbed the wine flask and did not use the wine cup. He raised his head and drank a mouthful. He nodded and said, "Refreshing." Everyone looked at each other. Was he really here to pick a fight? Motherfucker, you are courting death. The Zhuo family's third young master was furious. He took a step forward to the youth in black. Then, he grabbed the youth's shoulder and prepared to throw him out. However, he was shocked to find that the youth in black was like a mountain. He used all his strength and could not lift the youth in black. The youth in black continued to drink leisurely. He did not care about the Zhuo family's third young master at all. He also did not care about the hand that was grabbing his shoulder. He looked up at Yi Yuan and asked suspiciously, "What's wrong? With someone watching, your little brother can't do it?" Yi Yuan was silent. The playfulness at the corner of his mouth grew stronger. You dare to ruin Big Brother Ye's good thing. You really don't know what's good for you. The Zhuo family's third young master's eyes darkened. He took out a dagger that shone with a dim light and charged at the youth in black. The youth in black smirked. He raised his arm and grabbed the dagger. Although he grabbed the dagger with his bare hand, his hand was not injured at all. The Zhuo family's third young master was stunned. Crack. Immediately after, an even more shocking scene appeared. The youth in black clenched his fist and the dagger was crushed to pieces on the spot. What? That's a legendary divine weapon. He crushed it directly. Everyone was stunned. The Zhuo family's third young master was also shocked. He immediately retreated, knowing that he had met a ruthless person. At the same time, Yi Yuan's pupils shrank slightly. To crush a legendary divine weapon with one's bare hand, one either had absolute strength or an exceptionally strong physical body. I thought I would be able to enjoy an exciting performance. How boring. The youth in black shook his head and glanced at the girl behind him. Hurry up and go home. Thank you, young master. The woman bowed gratefully, then turned and ran outside. Who said you could leave? The Zhuo family's third young master roared and grabbed the girl's hair. His eyes were extremely fierce. He was afraid of the youth in black, but this girl was like an ant in his eyes. Moreover, he firmly believed that no matter how arrogant the youth in black was, he would not dare to do anything to him. Because he was Zhuo Tianqing's son. Chapter 3067. Young master, save me. The woman hurriedly looked at the black-clothed young man and cried for help. The black-clothed young man sighed and drank all the wine in the wine flask. Crack. As the restaurant fell and shattered, the black-clothed young man suddenly stood up and appeared in front of the Zhua family's third young master. "What do you want?" The Zhua family's third young master panicked. "Didn't you hear that I told her to leave?" The black-clothed young man's eyes were filled with murderous intent. His large hand shot out like lightning and grabbed the Zhua family's third young master's neck, suspending him in the air like a little chick. "How dare you! My father is Zhua Tiansheng," the Zhua family's third young master roared. "Are you trying to say that I don't dare to kill you?" The black-clothed young man's lips curled up. "Do you dare to kill me?" The Zhua family's third young master roared. "Don't say that. I really dare." The black-clothed young man's eyes were filled with murderous intent. His 5 fingers suddenly tightened, and the Zhua family's third young master's neck was broken on the spot. The head, which was glaring angrily, rolled to the ground with a thud. "There's no one in this world that I don't dare to kill." The black-clothed young man smiled sinisterly and stepped on the head. "No," accompanied by a terrified scream, the Zhua family's third young master's head and divine spirit shattered on the spot like a watermelon. He really killed him. The surrounding people were dumbfounded. Third brother, the remaining 10 good-for-nothings of the Zhua family also looked at the Zhua family's third young master's corpse in horror. They never thought that someone would dare to kill a member of the Zhua family. "You're dead for sure. How dare you kill third brother? Even a deity can't save you. Just wait to be cut into pieces." The group of good-for-nothings came back to their senses and immediately shouted at the black-clothed young man. The black-clothed young man looked at the 10 of them. The 10 of them were still hooting a moment ago, but now they began to retreat, their faces full of panic. "You say a lot of things." The black-clothed young man smiled. "What things?" The 10 of them were suspicious. "Even a deity can't save you today." As soon as he finished speaking, a murderous aura flashed across the black-clothed young man's face as he stepped forward and landed in front of one of them. "Don't kill me." This was the 8th young master of the Zhua family. When he saw the young man in black appear in front of him, he was scared out of his wits. "Do you think I won't kill him just because you said so? Do you think you are Zhua Tiansheng? Is he that important? You are nothing but a clown relying on Zhua Tiansheng to intimidate others." The black-clothed youth laughed coldly. He grabbed the Zhua family's 8th young master's head and clenched his fist. With a cracking sound, his head burst open on the spot, and blood and flesh flew everywhere. "It's too scary. He's going to kill them all." Everyone was shocked. Who was this person? How could he be so bold? A few years ago, Qin Feiyang and Madman Mo had appeared and killed the Zhua family's first and second young masters. Now, 2 more ruthless people had appeared, wanting to kill all of Zhua Tiansheng's sons. Zhua Tiansheng's bloodline was cut off. When the remaining 9 rich kids saw this scene, they all fled outside in fear. However, the black-clothed youth was like a grim reaper. Blood splattered everywhere, dyeing the floor of the restaurant red. Broken limbs and corpses were everywhere. Some people couldn't help but run outside. The waiters of the restaurant were the same. They all ran outside in fear. However, there were some bold people who still sat in the restaurant and watched. "What happened inside?" someone asked suspiciously. "Something big happened. Zhua Tiansheng's sons were all killed by a young man." A person who ran out of the restaurant said in fear. "What? Who is so bold? Could it be Qin Feiyang and Madman Mo? It's not them. But this person seems to be even more arrogant than Qin Feiyang and Madman Mo," everyone was discussing. Moreover, the news spread like wildfire. Windsea City was soon in an uproar. In the restaurant, the black-clothed youth's face was stained with blood. He walked step by step toward the Zhua family's 5th young master. Now, only the Zhua family's 5th young master was still alive. "Brother Yi, save me." The Zhua family's 5th young master looked at the black-clothed youth in fear and shouted at Yi Yuan. From the beginning to the end, Yi Yuan had no intention of making a move. He was also not frightened by the black-clothed youth's methods. He crossed his arms and leaned against the seat. He watched everything calmly. The white-clothed youth sitting opposite Yi Yuan was the same. "Brother Yi, save me, the Zhuo family's fifth young master cried out in despair. "No one can save you." The black-clothed youth shook his head. He landed in front of the Zhuo family's fifth young master and kicked his head. At this moment, Yi Yuan slowly got up. The white-clothed youth opposite him smiled and also slowly got up. Yi Yuan looked at the white-clothed youth and asked, "You want to interfere?" The white-clothed youth smiled and said, "My senior brother is in high spirits, so I don't want anyone to disturb him." "Is that so?" The corner of Yi Yuan's mouth lifted. He turned and took a step forward. In an instant, he landed in front of the Zhuo family's fifth young master and grabbed him. However, at the same time, the white-clothed youth also landed in front of Yi Yuan. He grabbed Yi Yuan's arm and shook his head. "I said I won't let you interfere, so I definitely won't let you interfere." Yi Yuan frowned. A huge force came from his arm. However, the white-clothed youth did not feel any pressure. He looked at Yi Yuan with a faint smile on his face. Before the white-clothed youth finished speaking, the black-clothed youth kicked the Zhuo family's fifth young master's head. Accompanied by a shrill scream, the Zhuo family's fifth young master's blood splattered on the spot. At this moment, all 11 of the Zhuo family's prodigal sons were killed. Looking at the Zhuo family's fifth young master on the ground, Yi Yuan's eyes were bloodshot. He then looked at the black-clothed youth and the white-clothed youth. "You don't know who I am, right?" The white-clothed youth let go of Yi Yuan's arm and smiled. "Who doesn't know the grandson of the Itinerant Cultivator Alliance's deputy chief?" Yi Yuan was stunned and laughed cruelly. "You dare to provoke me in public even though you know? Looks like you guys have a big background." No, we're just two nobodies. It's just that, we especially like to deal with prodigal sons like you." The white-clothed youth smiled. "Prodigal sons," Yi Yuan muttered. A dangerous aura quietly spread out. He looked at the white-clothed youth and the black-clothed youth and said, "Even if I'm a prodigal son, I'm still one that you can't afford to offend." "It seems like we can't afford to offend you." The white-clothed youth nodded and looked at the black-clothed youth with a smile. "Why don't we leave?" Okay, let's go." The black-clothed youth nodded. Therefore, the two of them turned and left under the watchful eyes of the crowd. Everyone was stunned. Yi Yuan himself also had a look of astonishment. They really left? Boom! The next moment, a monstrous murderous aura rushed out of Yi Yuan's body. His face also became ferocious. The entire restaurant collapsed. Not good. The people who stayed in the restaurant to watch the show immediately released their divine power to protect themselves. In the blink of an eye, the Fengyue restaurant was reduced to ruins. Everyone rushed out of the dust and saw the scene in front of them. They quickly searched for the black-clothed youth and the white-clothed youth. Where are they? They disappeared so quickly. Everyone could not help but frown. Look! They are above. Suddenly, someone shouted. Everyone immediately looked up and saw two figures standing outside the enchantment above the city. Who else could it be but the black-clothed youth and the white-clothed youth? When did they go out? One must know that this enchantment was personally set up by the city lord. Unless one's cultivation is stronger than the city lord, no one can break out. Could it be that they have mastered the space-time laws or have a legendary space-time artifact? Everyone was suddenly surprised. Since you want to die so much, this young master will fulfill your wish. Suddenly, accompanied by a sinister laugh, Yi Yuan rushed out of the dust and went straight to the sky. Don't, we really can't afford to offend you." The black-clothed youth waved his hand, but his face was full of amusement. Haha, Yi Yuan laughed. "Don't look so great. Want to kill us?" Fine, come out. The black-clothed youth hooted. Swish. At this moment, the city lord, third Xing, Zhuo Tianxing, an elder Yu descended beside Yi Yuan. What's going on now? Zhuo Tianxing frowned. But no one answered. Because of the Zhuo family's actions, everyone was quite dissatisfied with Zhuo Tianxing. Say it. Zhuo Tianxing grabbed the air and a middle-aged man flew up uncontrollably. The middle-aged man panicked and hurriedly said, "They just killed your son." What? Zhuo Tianxing suddenly looked up at the black-clothed youth and the white-clothed youth. No one is allowed to interfere. This young master will kill them personally. Yi Yuan swept a glance at Zhuo Tianxing. But they killed all my sons. Zhuo Tianxing roared. In fact, he didn't care much in his heart because he already had the intention to kill. But he still had to pretend to be sad. This young master doesn't want to say it a second time. Yi Yuan glanced at Zhuo Tianxing and said to the city lord, "Open the enchantment." The city lord looked at third Xing hesitantly. In fact, he was also wondering who these two people were. They actually dared to come here and provoke Yi Yuan. Third Xing looked at the black-clothed youth and the white-clothed youth, then looked at Yi Yuan and said, "Young master, you don't have to do this kind of small matter. I'll do it for you. You don't understand my words." Yi Yuan immediately looked over, his eyes filled with a strong cold light. Third Xing shrunk his neck, looked at the city lord and said, "Open the enchantment." "Is that really okay?" The city lord transmitted his voice. Since the other party dared to come and stood there fearlessly, they must have some confidence. "Open it." Third Xing sighed secretly. "Okay." The city lord nodded and waved his hand. A crack suddenly appeared in the enchantment. "Hurry up and leave. Otherwise, you'll definitely die." Seeing this scene, some people below secretly exclaimed. They all hated Yi Yuan to the core, so now they couldn't help but worry for the black-clothed youth and the white-clothed youth. Especially those who advised the black-clothed youth and the white-clothed youth not to find Yi Yuan not long ago. They really didn't expect that these two people would really go to Fenghua brothel to find trouble with Yi Yuan. And now, they were still standing in the air and not leaving. Weren't they waiting for death? Boom! Yi Yuan rushed out, his whole body suddenly exploding with a shocking murderous aura. Prepare to lose all hope. He laughed sinisterly. Waves of blood-colored divine power appeared, carrying a monstrous evil aura, and charged towards the black-clothed youth and the white-clothed youth. Chapter 3068. The young man in white glanced at Yi Yuan and asked, "Senior brother, do you want to do it or should I?" "Why? Are you itching for a fight too?" The young man in black asked. "A little." The young man in white nodded. "Then what should we do?" "I'm itching for a fight too." The young man in black frowned. The young man in white said, "How about this? You let me do it this time and I'll let you do it next time." "No, no." The young man in black shook his head. Suddenly, his eyes lit up and he smiled. "Let's be fair. Let's play rock, paper, scissors. Whoever wins gets to go first." "Good idea." The young man in white nodded. Seeing this, the people in the city below could not help but look at each other. Yi Yuan had already charged over and they were still in the mood to discuss this. Could they show some respect to their opponents? What made everyone speechless was that the two of them really started to play rock, paper, scissors to determine the winner. Rock, paper, scissors. The two of them stood facing each other and punched at the same time. The young man in black used rock while the young man in white used paper. "I won, right?" The young man in white smiled proudly. The young man in black shook his head. "No, no. Best of 3. You're cheating." The young man in white was speechless. "Cut the crap. Hurry up." The young man in black yelled impatiently. "All right. The young man in white nodded helplessly. Best of three again? Everyone was speechless to the extreme. The city lord, Zhuo Tiansheng, an elder Yu's mouth kept twitching. Was this a joke? Even third Xing could not hold it in anymore. He wanted to laugh but did not dare to. There was only one person present with an extremely gloomy expression. That person was Yi Yuan. Playing rock, scissors, paper, and best of three in front of him. This was completely humiliating him. The young man in black laughed. I'm scissors, you're paper. I win this time. Alright, now we're both at one win and one loss. The third round will determine the winner. The young man in white looked helpless. You guys really haven't died yet. Yi Yuan roared. His hair stood on end as he punched the two of them. How annoying. Can't you see we're playing rock paper scissors? The two of them raised their heads and glared at Yi Yuan at the same time. Then, they took a step forward and instantly appeared on the other side of the void. Bastard. You don't have to guess anymore. Come at me together. Yi Yuan's lungs were about to explode. She actually found him annoying? You even need to play rock paper scissors in a fight. Whoever wins will go up. Who is the annoying one? You? Together? The black-clothed youth and the white-clothed youth stared blankly for a moment before casting disdainful glances at Yi Yuan at the same time. Damn it, you're still looking down on me? Yi Yuan was infuriated. However, the two of them ignored him and treated him as air. They shouted in unison, rock, paper, scissors. The next moment, the scene froze. The black-clothed youth had a rock, while the white-clothed youth had a pair of scissors. The black-clothed youth suddenly laughed out loud. I won, kid. If you agree to bet, you must accept your loss. Don't go back on your word. You're the one who cheated, okay? The white-clothed youth had a displeased look on his face. He had already won the first round, yet he insisted on having 3 rounds. If this wasn't cheating, what was? In the initial rules, you didn't say that the winner would be decided in 1 round, right? So, just admit defeat. Stand aside obediently and watch my performance. The black-clothed youth smiled proudly. It's so annoying to have a senior brother like you. The white-clothed youth shook his head and helplessly turned around and walked to the void not far away. He looked on with a gloomy face. Those who dare to look down on me will generally pay the price. Yi Yuan's face was gloomy as he charged towards the black-clothed youth. The other party seemed to be joking, but in fact, he was humiliating him in public. I'm not looking down on you. I'm looking down on you. The black-clothed youth grinned. He leaped up and threw a punch. Good, good, good. I'd like to see how capable you are. How dare you talk so big? Yi Yuan's face was distorted. Growing up, this was the first time he had been teased like this. Boom! Divine power roared in all directions, causing the void to tremble. The next moment, the two men's fists collided. A terrifying wave of air suddenly rolled out in all directions with the two men as the center. At the same time, accompanied by a crisp crack, the skin on Yi Yuan's fist split open and his whole body kept retreating. What? Seeing this, the people below were shocked. One had to know. Yi Yuan had used divine power, but the black-clothed youth only had a fist and nothing else. But Yi Yuan was still not a match for him. Just how strong was his physical strength and body? I see. The capital of your arrogance is your physical strength and strength. Yi Yuan suddenly smiled. How about it? The black-clothed youth looked at him provocatively. Haha, if that's the case, then you still dare to be arrogant in front of me? Yi Yuan took a divine life pill and the injury on his hand quickly healed. Then, he threw another punch at the black-clothed youth. You really won't cry until you're in the coffin. The black-clothed youth was slightly stunned. Yi Yuan actually dared to fight him head-on? Boom! The two men collided again. The black-clothed youth's face suddenly stiffened. Following which, he felt an unparalleled power roaring out from Yi Yuan's fist. The two forces collided and the two men were sent flying at the same time. What? The white-clothed youth who was watching the battle not far away was also shocked. What's wrong? Can't be arrogant anymore? Yi Yuan laughed, stabilized his body, and charged at the black-clothed youth like lightning. You underestimate me too much. I'm born arrogant. Not to mention you, even in front of your grandfather, I'll show him how arrogant I am. The black-clothed youth had a look of disdain as he raised his fist and punched. He seems to be calling himself I. The crowd below. Yun Xiang muttered. He can't be Madman Mo, right? The Tower Master of Tianyue Tower said telepathically. It seems that only he and Qin Feiyang have such a strong physical body and strength. Yun Xiang shook his head and smiled. He didn't expect it to be these two guys. Is it them? At the same time, Zhuo Tianxing also noticed this and transmitted his voice to the city lord and elder Yu. It should be. The city lord smiled bitterly. That's right. The black-clothed youth was Madman. The white-clothed youth was naturally Qin Feiyang without any suspense. After comprehending the profound divine ability in the Black Tortoise world, the two changed their appearance, wanting to see Yi Yuan's character. In the end, he really didn't disappoint them. Bang bang bang. High up in the sky, Madman and Yi Yuan constantly collided, fist to fist, blood splattering everywhere. Qin Feiyang gradually frowned. This Yi Yuan's physical body was actually so strong? No. Suddenly, his gaze focused. Because he found that Yi Yuan's injuries were more serious than Madman's. In other words, Madman's physical body and strength were actually above Yi Yuan's. But why was his pair of fists so terrifying? Suddenly, Qin Feiyang stared at Yi Yuan's hands, as if he had discovered something, and a look of realization appeared in his eyes. He transmitted his voice, "Senior brother, he's wearing gloves." Gloves? Madman was slightly taken aback. While fighting, he looked at Yi Yuan's hands. Taking a closer look, he really found something strange. He saw that Yi Yuan's hands were suffused with a faint light. It was indeed a pair of gloves, but because it was the color of flesh, and was as soft as skin, he didn't notice it at first. I was wondering why he suddenly became so strong, so he's wearing a divine artifact. Madman's eyes flashed as he glanced at Yi Yuan's body. Because the gloves could only protect Yi Yuan's hands, it couldn't protect his body. Boom! Madman threw a punch over. Yi Yuan also threw a punch over, his face full of pride. But suddenly, Madman suddenly bent over, and Yi Yuan's fist immediately swept over Madman's head. At the same time, Madman swooped down, punching Yi Yuan's lower abdomen. Ao. Accompanied by an anguished wail that sounded like a pig being slaughtered, Yi Yuan's entire body arched as he flew out, his two eyeballs protruding out. This is your so-called physical body and strength? Madman laughed mockingly. Yi Yuan rolled into the distant void, spitting out a mouthful of blood, his face green and red as he stared at Madman. Put away your little tricks. Because with just this little ability, you can't defeat me. Madman snickered. Boom! Yi Yuan took a step forward, divine power surging out. No way. My punch didn't destroy your sea of qi. Madman was taken aback. You want to destroy this young master's qi sea? You must be dreaming. Yi Yuan laughed contemptuously, and with a monstrous divine power, he punched Madman's head. Still not giving up? Madman raised his eyebrows, and his entire body suddenly erupted with a monstrous divine power. Divine power surged, condensed on his fist, and punched out. Yes. He hadn't used his divine power, and was completely relying on his physical body to fight Yi Yuan. Initial stage immortal realm? He already broke through? At the same time, seeing Madman's aura, Zhuo Tiansheng and the others were secretly shocked. They were originally a little worried because Madman was only half-step immortal realm, and Yi Yuan was an initial stage immortal realm, a small realm higher than him. But they didn't expect little Madman to also be an initial stage immortal realm cultivator. They were both initial stage immortal realm cultivators, so little Madman should have no problem dealing with Yi Yuan. Boom! With Madman's divine power erupting, the lethality of his punch was even more terrifying. The fist in Yi Yuan's hand directly shattered, turning into fragments. His entire body was sent flying by the power of this punch, and blood gushed out. So he has a divine artifact in his hand. I really thought his physical body was comparable to this person's. Everyone began to discuss in low voices. Hearing these discussions, Third Xing's eyes filled with anger, and he shouted, "All of you, shut up." He understood Yi Yuan, and he knew Yi Yuan's pride. If he heard these discussions, he would definitely feel humiliated. Madman grabbed a piece of debris, glanced at it, and then looked at Yi Yuan, saying contemptuously, "If you don't have the ability, don't pretend in front of me." Yi Yuan's face sank. Whoosh! With the emergence of divine power, an even more terrifying divine power erupted like a volcano. The next moment, that blood-red divine power turned into a raging wave, drowning the sky and heading toward Madman. There was a great sense of danger inside. Divine technique? Madman smiled disdainfully, and his divine power roared. Without any fancy moves, he punched out again. With a loud bang, the blood-colored angry wave immediately collapsed in the void. Chapter 3069. This was the power of Madman. An honorable level physical body, honorable level strength, and honorable level divine power, could unleash an extremely terrifying destructive power. Yi Yuan's god art was only at the sovereign level. Puff! As the blood wave dissipated, Yi Yuan spat out another mouthful of blood. The grandson of the vice leader only has this much strength? I heard that you are a monster, why don't you look like one? If someone like you is considered a monster, then wouldn't everyone be a monster? Madman's face was full of mockery. The people in the city below all held back their laughter, it was really satisfying. This kind of beast scum should be ruthlessly dealt with. Yi Yuan looked at Madman, his eyes narrowed, flashing with blood light. At the same time, he slowly raised his arm, wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, then lowered his head, looking at the blood on his hand. Fresh blood. Can make me excited, make me boil. Suddenly, Yi Yuan smiled sinisterly, a thick blood energy appeared all over his body, a cold and ruthless aura spread out. At this moment, his temperament changed greatly, as if he was a violent beast. Roar! The next moment, he let out a beast-like roar, blood energy curling around his body. Step by step, he charged towards Madman. It's quite scary. Madman's neck shrank back, laughing, I hope it's not just for show. Boom! In the blink of an eye, the two of them clashed. Yi Yuan actually didn't activate his divine art, and just fought with Madman bare-chested. Madman was naturally very happy. Because in terms of body and strength, he had an absolute advantage. Boom! One punch sent Yi Yuan flying. Bang! Another kick sent Yi Yuan flying. It was like playing. But gradually, Madman couldn't help but frown. Because he found that no matter how injured Yi Yuan was, he could stand up again. There was no sign of weakness on his face. What he couldn't understand the most was that he couldn't give Yi Yuan a fatal blow. And the excitement between Yi Yuan's brows became more and more intense. Lord Envoy, what is going on? The city lord, Zhuo Tiansheng, and Elder Yu were also shocked. Young master has cultivated a god art that allows him to have an undying body. The more serious the injury and the more blood loss, the more excited and powerful he becomes. Furthermore, this deity technique specializes in increasing the strength of one's physical body and strength. In other words, this person is purely looking for a beating if he wants to compete with you in terms of physical strength and physical strength. Third Xing transmitted his voice. There's such a divine art? The three of them frowned. Looking at the two people in the sky, they couldn't help but worry. Naturally, he was worried about the madman. Qin Feiyang also noticed this and couldn't help but frown. Jie, it seems that your physical body and strength are only a so-so. Yi Yuan laughed nastily. Madman clenched his fists and divine power surged out like a flood. He didn't hold back and punched Yi Yuan in the stomach. Boom! Yi Yuan flew out, his blood staining the sky. However, yet, he acted as if nothing had happened. One had to know that in the same realm, the mad scientist's full-powered punch was enough to shatter anyone's sea of qi. But now, Yi Yuan's qi sea was undamaged. The most frightening thing was that there was still excitement between his brows, and there was no sign of weakness. No, I'm not strong enough. Yi Yuan laughed wildly, the blood energy around his body became thicker, as if he was a demon god bathed in blood. What the hell? Madman raised his eyebrows. Little madman, this is because he cultivated a deity technique, the city lord's voice suddenly sounded in Madman's mind. He recognized me just like that? Madman was slightly taken aback and then looked at Yi Yuan, who was charging over like a wild beast. He muttered, so it's like that. An undying body, that was impossible. Just like Zhuge Mingyang back then, who had such a heaven-defying undying demonic technique, he still died in the hands of Qin Feiyang and the others. Now that he couldn't kill Yi Yuan, that was because he wasn't strong enough. Boom! Madman went all out, his fists and legs crazily raining down on Yi Yuan. Yi Yuan was covered in blood, his body covered in wounds. However, his aura was becoming more and more terrifying. Madman also discovered that Yi Yuan's physical body and strength were also increasing. So the more blood loss and the more injured one was, the stronger one was? In other words, by doing this, not only would he not be able to kill Yi Yuan, but he would also make Yi Yuan stronger? What? Are you desperate? Don't be in such a hurry, this is just a warm-up. Yi Yuan grinned hideously. The bloody aura around him was about to bury his entire being. Boom! The two punched each other again. Puff! Yi Yuan spat out a mouthful of blood and flew out like a meteor. But at the same time, the madman's body shook violently and he coughed out a mouthful of blood. He was forced to retreat. This madman's face was filled with disbelief. Yi Yuan's current strength and physical body was already infinitely close to the sovereign level. What kind of deity technique was this? The more injured one was, the more blood loss, the stronger one was? Boom! Another collision. Yi Yuan's strength suddenly increased and sent Madman flying with one punch. His arm was also lacerated and blood flowed out. Sovereign level. Madman's eyes trembled. That's right. At this moment, Yi Yuan's physical body and strength had already reached the sovereign level. Looks like senior brother is going to be in a tough battle. Qin Feiyang muttered, it seemed that he had indeed underestimated this person. Next. Whether it was Yi Yuan's strength or physical body, he was no longer inferior to Madman. The two were locked in a fierce battle in the air. Blood was like rain as it scattered on the barrier, appearing particularly dazzling. Is this still the playboy we know? Elder Yu looked at the current Yi Yuan and found it hard to accept this fact. The facts have already proven that we were all fooled by his facade in the past. This person is the grandson of the Deputy Alliance leader, how could he be a mediocre playboy? The city lord and Zhuo Tianxing couldn't help but sigh. The so-called playboy was just an act for everyone to see. The people in the city couldn't help but worry about Madman. Not to mention that they didn't know Madman's identity. Even if they knew, they would still support Madman. Because compared to Madman and Qin Feiyang, this Yi Yuan was even more hateful. Although Madman and Qin Feiyang had caused a lot of trouble in Wind Sea City these years, at least they weren't as inhumane as Yi Yuan, who killed the innocent. Bang! After hundreds of rounds, Madman suddenly smashed into the barrier below like a meteorite, his entire body dripping with blood. How is it? Now that this young master's strength and physical body are stronger than yours, your strongest move no longer has any advantage. Still dare to be arrogant? Yi Yuan stood in the air, raising his head and laughing wildly. Madman got up, his eyes rather gloomy. Not bad. Yi Yuan's physical body and strength did not stop after increasing to the sovereign level, and continued to become stronger. Could it be that this was the same as Qin Feiyang's slaughter domain, which could increase endlessly? Swoosh! Yi Yuan took a step forward and instantly landed in front of Madman, punching towards Madman's Qi. Madman didn't dare to be careless. Because he wasn't Yi Yuan. If his Qi was hit by Yi Yuan's punch, it would definitely shatter on the spot. Swoosh! Without hesitation, he used the support divine art and retreated like lightning. Finally activated the divine art? Yi Yuan's punch missed, and he laughed mockingly. He also used a mysterious footwork and charged towards Madman. As the grandson of the vice leader, he naturally didn't lack a divine art. Madman's eyes flashed. Now that he had lost his advantage in strength and physical body, he could only activate the divine art. Clang! The blood demon seal appeared, and as if it was dyed in blood, a bright blood light dyed half the sky. Suppress! Madman roared, and the blood demon seal descended from the sky, like a mountain, charging towards Yi Yuan. Ha! Just now you shattered this young master's divine art with one punch, now this young master will let you experience it. Yi Yuan laughed wildly, his divine power surging as he punched towards the blood demon seal. Kacha! The blood demon seal shattered in the air. Madman's body trembled, and a mouthful of blood rushed up to his throat. Shwa! At this moment, Yi Yuan charged in front of Madman, and slapped towards Madman's lower abdomen. Madman was shocked, and quickly retreated. The second move of the blood demon seal appeared, and a terrifying sound wave rushed towards Yi Yuan like a flood. Still a sovereign-level divine art? Yi Yuan's face was full of disdain, but he still punched. The invisible sound wave couldn't stop him. What kind of divine art is this? It's too perverted. Madman was a little annoyed. Because he could clearly feel that Yi Yuan's physical body and strength were still getting stronger. Could it be that it could still increase to a heaven-defying level? This young master's physical body and strength can only increase to this level, and you can't do it? You really disappoint this young master. Yi Yuan shook his head, and charged towards Madman. Madman was forced to retreat, and he was in a sorry state. Because now, in terms of physical body and strength, he was no longer comparable to Yi Yuan. This is indeed similar to the slaughter domain. Qin Feiyang mumbled. City Lord, what should we do? If this continues, little Madman will definitely die. Zhuo Tianxing transmitted. He isn't worried himself, why are you worried? Moreover, they have someone who can control the spacetime laws. If they can't win, escaping isn't a problem. The only worry now is Xing San. If he attacks unexpectedly, Qin Feiyang and little Madman might not even have the chance to activate the spacetime laws. City Lord thought. Zhuo Tianxing's heart trembled, and he glanced at Xing San, and smiled bitterly. Then even if he attacks, we can't stop him. So, they shouldn't have come to Wind Sea City. City Lord sighed. Bang! During the conversation, Madman was once again sent flying by Yi Yuan, and crashed into the enchantment in the sky. His entire body was covered in wounds. Quickly run. In the city below, some people couldn't help but roar in their hearts. Unfortunately, Madman couldn't hear it. They didn't dare to shout it out. And even if Madman heard it, he wouldn't run, because this wasn't his character. In this world, Yi Yuan wasn't the only one who became stronger when encountering a strong opponent. He was the same. And he became stronger when encountering a strong opponent. It wasn't his strength or physical body that became stronger, but his fighting spirit and fighting spirit. This was undoubtedly even more terrifying. No matter how strong a person was, without fighting spirit and fighting spirit, he wouldn't be able to display all his strength. And a weak person, as long as his fighting spirit and fighting spirit were not extinguished, he would be able to display 120% of his battle strength. Chapter 30-70. Rumble. The void here was distorted crazily under the collision of the two, as if it was about to shatter. Madman was covered in injuries, and there was even a fist-sized hole in his chest, with blood gushing out uncontrollably. If it were anyone else, they would have long fallen to the ground. But he didn't. Not only did he not, the battle intent in his eyes was even stronger. Moreover, he didn't activate Blood Prison, Blood Demon Domain, Blood Demon Technique, or Heaven-defying Divine Art. He also didn't activate Blood Eye. He wanted to know where his limit was. About a few hundred breaths passed. The battle between the two became more and more intense. One moment he charged into the clouds, shaking the heavens, and the next moment he charged into the mountains outside the city, annihilating everything. Madman's willpower and fighting spirit, even Yi Yuan couldn't help but feel apprehensive. He was like an unkillable god of war. No matter how injured he was, he could always stand up again. It was as if he was using that unyielding willpower to tell him that even if he grasped this heaven-defying divine art, don't think about defeating him. In the face of such a lunatic, even a half-step sovereign realm expert would feel fear and trepidation. Rumble. Another few hundred breaths passed. Yi Yuan's body shook, and a dull explosion came from within his body. Following closely, a monstrous aura roared out. What? Qin Feiyang's expression changed. Yi Yuan's current physical body and strength had actually soared to the heaven-defying level. Huh, go to hell. Yi Yuan laughed wildly and slapped a palm at Madman. Madman's pupils constricted, and a blood-red battle armor immediately appeared on his body. Kacha. When Yi Yuan's strength was too terrifying, the battle armor instantly shattered, and his physical body also rapidly cracked. Following closely, he spat out a mouthful of blood, and like a blood-stained meteor, he flew all the way out, and finally smashed into the mountains outside the city. A large part of the mountains and rivers there immediately collapsed, and countless fierce beasts fled in fear. Ants, all of you are ants. Yi Yuan stood proudly in the sky, laughing as if there was no one around. Qin Feiyang raised his head and looked at Yi Yuan, his eyes flickering uncertainly. This divine art, just how much could it increase this person's physical body and strength? An endless increase, he was somewhat unwilling to believe it. Because it was impossible for such a divine art to exist in this world. Some people might say, isn't the kill formula the same? However, the kill symbol formula couldn't be compared to ordinary deity formulas. This was because the kill character was one of the 6-word divine arts, and the 6-word divine arts came from the god of creation. Qin Feiyang had already determined this point. This was because the handwriting of the 6-word divine formula was exactly the same as the handwriting on the pill scripture. The pill scripture came from the god of creation, so the 6-word divine formula naturally came from the god of creation as well. Who in this world could compare to the god of creation? There was definitely no one there. Yi Yuan laughed loudly for a while. Suddenly, he lowered his head to look at Qin Feiyang and said disdainfully, "You, come and receive death too." "Accept your death," Qin Feiyang murmured and smiled. "I am indeed interested in fighting with you, but you should defeat my senior brother first." Defeat? Yi Yuan laughed maniacally again. "Do you think he still has a chance of surviving? Let me give you a word of advice. Don't underestimate him. Qin Feiyang smiled. Yi Yuan couldn't stop laughing. This was really a hilarious joke. He was already dead, yet he still said not to underestimate him. There must be something wrong with this person's brain. Is he really not dead? Zhuo Tiansheng, Elder Yu, and the mayor looked at the mountain outside the city. They were originally quite sad. Xiao Xian had finally found a man she liked. Now that he was killed just like that, she would definitely be very sad. They had all thought about how to comfort Xiao Xian after this was over. Because in their opinion, the madman was also bound to die. After all, Yi Yuan's previous attack was at the level of defying the natural order. With the madman's half-step invincible cultivation, no matter how strong his physical body was, there was no way he could survive. But they didn't expect Qin Feiyang to be so confident in the madman. So when they heard Qin Feiyang's words, they couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope. However, whether it was worry or hope, they hid it in their hearts. After all, Third Xing was right next to them. If they revealed even the slightest trace, he might notice it. At the same time, hearing Qin Feiyang's words, the people in the city below also rose into the air and looked outside the city. Including Third Xing. He furrowed his brows. To be honest, he didn't want the madman to be alive either. But Qin Feiyang's performance was too calm. Not to mention sadness, there wasn't even the slightest bit of worry on his face. Yi Yuan also looked outside the city. Seeing that there was no movement, he looked at Qin Feiyang and shook his head. Looks like your hope is going to be dashed. I've never despaired. How can there be hope? Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. I haven't seen your other abilities, but your ability to put on airs has made this young master have a whole new level of respect for you. Yi Yuan laughed. As long as you're happy. Qin Feiyang smiled, looked outside the city, and murmured, Senior brother, it's time to shut him up. Boom. Qin Feiyang had just finished murmuring when a terrifying divine aura suddenly erupted from the mountains outside the city. What? He's really not dead. Yi Yuan looked up, his eyes filled with disbelief. Third Xing was the same, his eyes suddenly widened. Elder Yu, the city lord, and Zhuo Tiansheng looked at each other with a trace of shock in their eyes. What kind of monster was this kid? He actually didn't die. At the same time, under that shock, there was a trace of a smile. Not bad, not bad. Xiao Xian did not misjudge, he was a kid with a limitless future. But the people of Wind Sea City did not hide the joy in their hearts. Basically, they were all beaming with joy. This scene fell into the eyes of Third Xing, and he could not help but frown. It seemed that young master's actions in Wind Sea City these years had already aroused public indignation, but because of young master's identity, they dared not speak out. In other words, now in everyone's eyes, the madman was a hero who saved Wind Sea City, and Yi Yuan was an unpardonable villain. Third Xing was a little worried. This kind of negative impact would probably be detrimental to the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. In fact, he had also told Yi Yuan not to be so noisy, but would Yi Yuan listen to him? Obviously not. If Yi Yuan did not listen, there was nothing he could do. Boom! The madman's aura became more and more terrifying, and continued to approach Wind Sea City. Finally, everyone saw the madman. They saw him walking over step by step, his entire body dripping with blood, but the battle intent exuding from his body shook the world. More than 10 breaths later, the madman finally walked to the sky above the city, and stood in the air with Yi Yuan. Not dead, Yi Yuan muttered, as if it was very difficult to accept. Senior brother, can you do it? Qin Feiyang crossed his arms and teased. Hee, the madman grinned, staring at Qin Feiyang, and said, Is your hand itchy? I won't give you the chance to make a move. You. Qin Feiyang shook his head helplessly. The madman raised his head to look at Yi Yuan, and said with a grin, Kid, are you scratching an itch for me? Yi Yuan clenched his fists, his brows filled with hostility. In fact, it was all thanks to the blood-red armor. The blood-red armor was transformed from the divine art, and helped the madman block a portion of the power. Moreover, when they came to Wine Sea City, Qin Feiyang and the madman also found Dan Wangkai and asked for some life-divine pills. In the past, Dan Wangkai was able to refine pills with 4 dragon-shaped pill qi. And now, with the rank 10 divine rank pill furnace double dragon cauldron and the rank 10 divine rank pill fire ice phoenix flame, the pills he refined improved by leaps and bounds. Now, he could refine pills with 7 dragon-shaped pill qi. Whether it was pill veins or dragon-shaped pill qi, even if there were more than half of them, the effect was like heaven and earth, not to mention 3 more dragon-shaped pill qi. And before, the madman smashed into the mountain and immediately consumed a life-divine pill with 7 dragon-shaped pill qi. So, although he was still dripping with blood on the surface, his injuries had mostly recovered. What's wrong? You seem very unhappy. The madman looked at Yi Yuan playfully. Haha, this young master admits that your life is indeed tough. Yi Yuan laughed. Wrong. It's not that I am tough, it's that I am lucky to have a group of good partners. The madman shook his head. If it weren't for Dan Wangcai's pill, even if he could save his life, he wouldn't have the power to fight now. Are you talking about him? But he doesn't seem to have done anything. Yi Yuan pointed at Qin Feiyang. He is one of them. As for what you said, he didn't do anything. I don't agree with that. Because he is supporting me mentally. The madman said. Mental support? Yi Yuan was taken aback. These people were indeed sick. What was the use of mental support? A playboy like you who has been protected since young and hasn't experienced any hardships will never understand the meaning of companions. The madman shook his head. Good, good, good. After I kill you, this young master will fulfill your wish and let him accompany you. As Yi Yuan finished speaking, the blood in his body surged and like a meteor, he instantly appeared in front of the madman. After being arrogant for so long, it's time to shut you up. The madman's body shook, and a murderous aura no less than Yi Yuan's roared out from his body. Blood Demon Domain. The next moment, a giant barrier appeared and instantly enveloped the entire area. Yi Yuan's cultivation immediately began to plummet. As his cultivation plummeted, his physical body and strength also plummeted. What? This is, Yi Yuan's face paled. Third Xing's eyes also opened wide. They were not the only ones. At this moment, almost everyone present was staring at the Blood Devil region in bewilderment. At the same time, the mayor, Elder Yu, and Zhuo Tianxing looked at each other, the worry in their eyes growing. The madman's blood demon domain was no longer a secret. Once the blood demon domain appeared, his identity would definitely be recognized. As expected, Third Xing came back to his senses and immediately looked at them, asking, that madman Mo you guys were talking about, seems to also have this type of god technique? Yes. The mayor bit the bullet and nodded. No need to guess, I am the madman Mo you guys are looking for. The madman took a face-restoring pill and instantly regained his original appearance. It really is him. I knew it, who would be so daring to kill Zhuo Tianxing's sons and provoke the vice leader's grandson. If he is madman Mo, then wouldn't the other one be? Everyone looked at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang smiled and also took out a face-restoring pill, quickly revealing his true appearance. As expected, everyone smiled bitterly. It really was these two lawless people. Chapter 3071. So it's you guys. Yi Yuan stood in the blood demon domain, looking at the two with murderous intent. Why did he come to Wine Sea City? Wasn't it for these two people? Yes, it's us. Madman nodded. The blood demon domain enveloped all directions, and Yi Yuan's cultivation fell to the small success 9th heaven realm. Yi Yuan's eyes flashed as he quickly retreated, wanting to leave the blood demon domain. Because only by leaving the blood demon domain would his cultivation recover. Or else. With just the small success 9th heaven realm cultivation, how could he fight with this person? Was Madman stupid? He was not stupid. Of course he knew Yi Yuan's intentions. With a cruel laugh, he took a step forward and landed in front of Yi Yuan. Because as his cultivation plummeted, his speed was far from before. Who asked you to be arrogant for so long? Let me be arrogant for a while. Madman raised his arm, grabbed Yi Yuan's arm, and pulled it hard. Yi Yuan immediately screamed, his entire arm was torn off, blood flowing like a river. Young master. Xing San's expression changed. Yi Yuan said gloomily, I said before, no one is allowed to interfere. But, Xing San was extremely anxious. If Yi Yuan died in Wind Sea City, would the Vice Alliance leader let him go? Definitely not. But he did not dare to disobey Yi Yuan's words. And from Yi Yuan's tone, it seemed like he still had something to rely on. Might as well wait and see. Arrogant. Continue. What did those girls do wrong? You have to treat them like this. Do you still have his humanity? Madman took another step forward, raised his hand and slapped Yi Yuan's face. Yi Yuan's entire body flew out, his face was split open, flesh and blood flying everywhere, looking especially hideous. You like to bully women, right? All right. I'll fulfill your wish, and let you directly become a woman. Madman was still not satisfied. He took a step forward and kicked Yi Yuan's lower body. Woo! Yi Yuan's entire body was lying in the air, howling like a pig being slaughtered. That's it. Satisfying, too satisfying. When the people in the city below saw this scene, they all had a look of satisfaction. This kind of beast should be dealt with like this. I don't think I'm a good person. Countless women have died in my hands. But I've never humiliated them like this before, especially innocent girls. You're worse than a fucking animal. From your actions, I can tell what sort of trash your grandfather, that old dog, and your parents are. Madman was enraged. His divine power roared out as he sent a palm strike at Yi Yuan's head. Young master, Third Xing's expression changed and he was about to rescue him. Clang. But at this moment, accompanied by an ear-piercing sword hum, a stretch of sword light rushed out from Yi Yuan's body, instantly shattering the blood demon domain. Following closely, the sword energy tore through the sky and charged at the madman. Madman was shocked and dodged without thinking. The sword light swept past him and blasted into the sky. Rumble. A large part of the void instantly collapsed. Madman's back was covered in cold sweat. This sword light was definitely a heaven-defying divine artifact. Fortunately, his reaction was fast. Otherwise, he would have failed miserably. But thinking about it, as the grandson of the deputy chief, how could he only have such means? However, although the heaven-defying divine artifact was terrifying, it was still an external object. Only when one's own strength was strong, that was true strength. Yi Yuan's face was distorted as he got up and took out a pill. It was a divine life pill with 6 dragon-shaped core chi. Do you think this young master doesn't know your methods? Haha, ridiculous. You really think this young master is a hedonistic son who only knows how to bully others? Let me tell you, this young master has investigated you as soon as I arrived at Wind Sea City. This young master knows all of your methods, including you and a superior heaven-defying divine artifact. Knowing your situation, this young master still stayed in Wind Sea City to wait for you. Don't you think of anything? Yi Yuan's bruised face revealed a trace of ridicule. But it looked like he was laughing sinisterly, extremely terrifying. I have confidence. Madman shrugged. Haha, it seems that you're not stupid. That's right. If I didn't have confidence, would this young master dare to stay in Wind Sea City to wait for you? 2 wastes, do you really think you're invincible? Let's not talk about anything else. Let's talk about this divine life pill with 6 dragon-shaped pill chi. Do you 2 wastes have it? Yi Yuan laughed proudly and waved the divine life pill in his hand. Madman was stunned. Qin Feiyang was also stunned. Was the divine life pill with 6 dragon-shaped pill chi very awesome? Was this even qualified to show off? Sure enough. In the end, he was just a hedonistic son. Yi Yuan swallowed the divine life pill in one gulp, and the majestic life energy immediately healed the injuries on his body. The torn arm was also quickly reconstructed. Jealous? Jealous? It's a pity that you lowly ants will only ever be able to look on with envy. Prepare to despair. Yi Yuan laughed wildly and waved his hand. Following the emergence of a sword light, a dark battle sword appeared in front of him. The people in the city below looked at the battle sword, and their pupils contracted. This seemed to be a peak heaven-defying divine artifact. Not good. Yi Yuan had a peak heaven-defying divine artifact, while Qin Feiyang and Madman only had a high-level divine artifact. Although there was only a difference of 1 level, the difference in power was like heaven and earth. Peak heaven-defying divine artifact, Madman looked at the battle sword, and a smile flashed in his eyes. Qin Feiyang also had a smile in his eyes. Not only did he come to die, but he also delivered a peak heaven-defying divine artifact. This Yi Yuan was a good person. Kill! Yi Yuan shouted and grabbed the battle sword. With a loud clang, the battle sword instantly recovered, and its sharp edge destroyed everything as it attacked Madman. Madman dodged repeatedly. Why are you dodging? Didn't you say you wanted to be arrogant? Come, show me your arrogance. Yi Yuan laughed wildly. I'm scared. Who can beat a peak heaven-defying divine artifact? Madman said with a panicked expression. At least you have some self-awareness. Then obediently accept your death. Yi Yuan smiled proudly. Without the restriction of the blood demon domain, his cultivation returned to the initial stage imperishable realm, and his speed was already like Madman's. He caught up to Madman in a few steps and slashed furiously. You're really starting to be proud? Madman was stunned. A playboy was a playboy. No matter what, this kind of character could not be changed. Shwa. He used a support technique and retreated like lightning. The sword slashed across his body, leaving behind a ghastly wound. Don't worry, I won't kill you immediately. I'll slowly play you to death. I'll make you despair, make you regret, and make you not dare to be so arrogant in your next life. Yi Yuan sneered and chased after Madman. In the blink of an eye, Madman's body was covered in wounds. Seeing this scene, the hearts of the city lord and the others rose again. They shouldn't have been happy before. After all, Yi Yuan was the grandson of the vice leader. How could he not have a trump card? Difficult. The others sighed in their hearts. This Madman MO was very strong, and it was hard to find an opponent in the same realm. But now, he was facing the grandson of the vice leader. One's own strength was very important, but the power of external objects could also play an absolute role. Dozens of breaths passed. Madman retreated to Qin Feiyang's side, dripping with blood. What? Are you going to ask him for help? Don't waste your energy. Because even if you work together, the result will be the same. Yi Yuan laughed. Madman and Qin Feiyang looked at each other and couldn't help but shake their heads and laugh. This person was too arrogant. How far had they reached? Did he think he would win? Madman looked up at Yi Yuan and asked, Is that all you have? What? Yi Yuan, who was beside himself with joy, didn't seem to understand. Let me ask you, other than this peak-grade divine artifact, do you have any other methods? Madman said. Yi Yuan was stunned and then sneered, with the slaughter magic sword, do I need any other methods? The slaughter magic sword, Madman muttered and nodded. Not bad, not bad. It's a good name, very suitable for me. I'll use it in the future to kill scum like you. Yi Yuan looked at Madman in shock. Very suitable for him? He wanted to steal the slaughter magic sword from him? Was there something wrong with his brain? What was he thinking? Steal the slaughter magic sword? Did he have the ability? Madman waved his hand, and a divine life pill appeared. What? Looking at this divine life pill, everyone was in disbelief. 1, 2, 5, 7. It was actually a divine life pill with 7 dragon-shaped core chi. How is this possible? A divine life pill with 7 dragon-shaped core chi, 3rd Xing, City Lord, Zhua Tiansheng, and Elder Yu were the same. Needless to say, Yi Yuan was even more shocked. He was mocking others before, but in the blink of an eye, the other party took out a divine life pill with 7 dragon-shaped core chi. This was a blatant slap to his face. I wanted to keep a low profile, but you don't know what's good for you. You keep showing off in front of me with a divine life pill with 6 dragon-shaped core chi. I really don't understand. What's so good about a mere divine life pill with 6 dragon-shaped core chi? Madman shook his head and threw the divine life pill into his mouth. The life energy of 6 dragon-shaped core chi was already so terrifying, not to mention 7 dragon-shaped core chi. The injuries on Madman's body increased at a speed visible to the naked eye. This is impossible, Yi Yuan shook his head in disbelief. How could such an ant have a pill of this level? You're surprised? Don't worry, there's more to come. Madman smiled mockingly and extended his hand in front of Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang smiled, and with a thought, the golden scale sword appeared. Madman grabbed the golden scale sword and looked at Yi Yuan. He said playfully, "Take a good look. What level is this heaven-defying divine artifact?" Yi Yuan stared at the golden scale sword, his eyes filled with shock. The people in the city below, including 3rd Xing and the city lord, all looked at the golden scale sword suspiciously. Golden scale sword, awaken and show them. Madman said. Accompanied by a loud clanging sound, the golden scale sword was completely revived. The sword chi swept in all directions, and the void immediately collapsed crazily. Chapter 3072. This is, the moment the golden scale sword fully awakened, Yi Yuan was like a bolt from the blue, his mind rumbling. Didn't they say that these two's divine weapons were only high level? But why is it a pinnacle level divine weapon now? That's right. This is a pinnacle level divine weapon, not losing to the slaughter magic sword in his hands at all. As the grandson of the vice leader, you do have the right to look down on others. Unfortunately, you found the wrong target this time. Madman laughed, holding the golden scale sword, he charged towards Yi Yuan. Young master, Xing San took a step forward. Stand there and don't move. Yi Yuan roared. Xing San's body stiffened. Yi Yuan stared at Madman. A pinnacle-level divine weapon, and a life god pill with 7 dragon-shaped pill chi, he felt that what he had done before was just like a clown's performance. This made the anger and resentment in his heart more and more uncontrollable. He didn't want Xing San's help. Because he wanted to tear this madman apart with his own hands, and wash away this humiliation. Clang! The slaughter magic sword awakened. The two madly attacked each other. The collision of 2 pinnacle-level divine weapons was enough to destroy heaven and earth. The void above Fenghai City collapsed piece by piece. The two fought until the sky darkened, and the sun and moon lost their light. So what if you have a pinnacle-level divine weapon? My body will become stronger and stronger, you will die in my hands sooner or later. Yi Yuan roared. The blood demon domain was useless now. Because as long as Madman activates the blood demon domain, the slaughter magic sword would instantly destroy it. In other words, the divine weapon had lost its meaning now. Of course. Except for the heaven-defying divine weapon. After all, the heaven-defying divine weapon and the heaven-defying divine weapon belonged to the same level. There was also the blood demon technique. The blood demon technique increased cultivation, unless there was a special method, like the god domain of the dragons, that could make the blood demon technique ineffective, otherwise it would not be forcefully cut off. But now, even if Madman activates the blood demon technique, it wouldn't mean much. Madman looked at Yi Yuan. Indeed. Following Yi Yuan's injury, his body was still gradually becoming stronger. He could basically conclude that this divine art that allowed Yi Yuan to become strong was definitely a kind of heaven-defying divine artifact. To be honest, if it was anyone else, they would have already died in Yi Yuan's hands. But it was still the same. This time, Yi Yuan found the wrong target. Although Frenzy didn't have a powerful family background like Yi Yuan, the means he had wouldn't be any less than Yi Yuan. Clang! As the golden light surged, the sky piercer appeared. This is a heaven-defying divine art. Third Xing mumbled. The golden scale sword attacked the magic sword, while the Fangtian halberd attacked Yi Yuan. A mere low-grade heaven-defying divine art wants to shake my current physical body? The contempt on Yi Yuan's face deepened. The magic sword of slaughter clashed with the golden scale sword. The moment the two peak-level heaven-defying divine weapons clashed, an apocalyptic sharpness erupted. At the same time, Yi Yuan raised his arm and actually slapped the halberd with his bare hands. This was because his physical body and strength had already been enhanced to a heaven-defying level. Therefore, even if it was a halberd formed from a heaven-defying divine art, he was not afraid at all. Kacha! Yi Yuan's large hand and the halberd clashed, a terrifying force surged, and the halberd actually shattered. Frenzy was dazed. This Yi Yuan's physical body and strength had unknowingly increased to the level of a middle-grade heaven-defying divine weapon. What does this mean? My physical body and strength will continue to grow stronger. Now I'm not afraid to tell you, this is a peak-level heaven-defying divine art. In other words, my physical body and strength will eventually reach the peak level. At that time, I won't even need the magic sword of slaughter, just this physical body is enough to crush you into pieces. Yi Yuan laughed maniacally. It's actually a peak-level heaven-defying divine art, Frenzy muttered. The heaven-defying divine art he grasped was only a low-grade heaven-defying divine art. Compared to a peak-level heaven-defying divine art, there was a difference of several levels. And it was indeed as Yi Yuan said, when his physical body reached the level of a peak-level heaven-defying divine weapon, he could completely take on the golden scale sword with his bare hands. Let me ask you, will you never despair? Yi Yuan laughed loudly. Despair? Frenzy smirked. Not to mention that Yi Yuan's physical body and strength had yet to reach the level of a peak-level heaven-defying divine weapon, even if it reached that level, he would not be afraid. Because now, not only the golden scale sword, the axe and the sunset divine bow, these heaven-defying divine weapons had also evolved to the level of a peak-level heaven-defying divine weapon. When all of them are summoned, dozens of peak-level heaven-defying divine weapons would be destroyed like dry weeds. However, there was no need for that. He did not want to trouble these heaven-defying divine weapons for such a playboy. Don't be afraid, this young master said before, I won't kill you immediately, you still have a chance to struggle, continue. Yi Yuan had a mocking smile as he charged towards Frenzy again. You, really displayed the characteristics of a playboy to the fullest. With a slight advantage, you start to show off. I just want to know, what are you showing off for? Frenzy waved his hand, a monstrous killing intent erupted, in the next moment, a blood-red sword appeared. The second profound of the slaughter law, Killing God's Sword. Clang! The Killing God's sword tore through the sky, bringing with it an apocalyptic sharpness as it slashed towards Yi Yuan. It was common knowledge that the profound of law could compete with heaven-defying divine techniques. The higher the profound, the more powerful it was. Even the ultimate profound would surpass a heaven-defying divine technique. The Killing God's sword belonged to the second profound, its lethality was already comparable to a mid-level heaven-defying divine technique. And Yi Yuan's physical body had already reached the mid-level, but even so, a wound immediately appeared on his body. What? The wound was not deep, it could only be called a superficial wound, but even so, Yi Yuan was shocked. It could actually hurt his physical body? This seems to be. Xing San looked at the killing god's sword in shock. His eyes suddenly trembled as he shouted, "Young master, be careful, this is the second profound of the slaughter law, killing god's sword." What? The second profound of the slaughter law? How is this possible? He's only at the initial stage of the imperishable realm. For someone with this cultivation, not to mention the second profound, to be able to comprehend the first profound is already very rare, a rare genius in the world. Many people have to reach the great perfection imperishable realm and experience countless years before they can comprehend the power of the first law. Everyone was shocked. This was a true monster. What was Yi Yuan in front of him? Amazing, the city lord also looked at Madman in a daze. He transmitted his voice, "Old Zhua, you found a good son-in-law." Yes. Initial stage of the imperishable realm, and he already comprehended the second profound. Not many people in the younger generation of the entire sky cloud boundary can do this. Elder Yu secretly said. This has nothing to do with me, it's Xiao Xian's good taste. Old Zhua secretly laughed. Look at your proud face. The city lord secretly rolled his eyes at Zhua Tiansheng, then said, but why was such a monstrous person a nobody in the past? Maybe he's low-key. Elder Yu smiled. Low-key? The city lord was slightly stunned, he smiled bitterly, maybe. It can't be, this must be a misconception. Yi Yuan looked at the god-slaying sword in Madman's hand, he kept shaking his head, as if he found it hard to accept. As the grandson of the Vice Alliance master, he was personally trained by his grandfather since he was young, but until now, he had yet to comprehend the power of the first law. And the other party was just a lowly ant, how could he comprehend the power of the first law? And he had even comprehended the second profound? Now tell me, what is the capital you have to show off in front of me? The madman looked at him with contempt. No. I don't believe it. Yi Yuan roared, the magic sword crazily attacked the golden scale sword. At the same time, he angrily rushed towards Madman, punching the god-slaying sword. This must be an illusion. He wanted to break this illusion and let everyone know that this person was not a genius at all, but just a clown pretending. For a playboy like you, this is indeed a very difficult thing to accept. Madman shook his head and slashed with his sword. Clang! Yi Yuan's fist and the god-slaying sword collided. A wound appeared on his fist, blood staining the sky. It's true, Yi Yuan's expression was dazed. You think I'm joking with you? You're just relying on your grandfather's might, otherwise, just based on yourself, what are you? I'm afraid you're not even worthy of being a clown. Madman's face was filled with mockery. The Vice Alliance master personally trained him, but he only had this bit of ability, wasn't this a joke? He slashed with his sword. Another wound appeared on Yi Yuan's body. Not even worthy of being a clown, Yi Yuan lowered his head, ignoring the wound on his body. He seemed to have suffered a huge blow. Young master, Xing San was burning with anxiety. Not to mention Yi Yuan, even he had underestimated Madman's strength. Bullying men and women, committing all kinds of crimes, people like you, living in this world is a waste of air. Atone for your sins. Madman's face was filled with disgust, the god-slaying sword flashed and slashed towards Yi Yuan's head. But at this moment, Yi Yuan suddenly raised his head, his arms shot out and grabbed the god-slaying sword. This young master likes to bully men and women, what can you do to this young master? Yi Yuan smiled sinisterly, a loud noise suddenly sounded from within his body. A terrifying power suddenly roared out, as he clenched his hand, the god-slaying sword was instantly crushed into pieces. Not good. His physical body and strength has already increased to the level of a high-level god artifact. The city lord secretly exclaimed. Zhuo Tiansheng and Elder Yu's hearts also sank. Xing San let out a sigh of relief. The power of the second profound was equivalent to a middle-level god artifact. And now, the young master's physical body and strength had increased again. It was already equivalent to a high-level god artifact. With a difference of one small realm, this madman was definitely not the young master's opponent. Are you in despair again? Yi Yuan looked at madman, his face filled with mockery. Sigh. Madman sighed. Why is he sighing? Everyone was suspicious. Madman looked at Yi Yuan, shaking his head. It's true, I can't help but feel sorry for your grandfather, raising such an idiot like you. You're courting death. Yi Yuan punched towards madman. Isn't that so? I dared to come to Wine Sea City without fear. Do you think I relied on my courage? Wrong. It's strength. Madman roared, the law of slaughter surged out, turning into a blood-colored storm, emitting a world-destroying ferocious aura, whistling towards Yi Yuan. Chapter 3073. At this moment, the entire world was shrouded in a murderous aura. Madman was like a god of death, standing high in the sky with a ruthless indifference in his eyes. The rolling clouds in the sky seemed to be dyed in blood, emitting a shocking aura. This is, Third Xing's eyes widened in anger. His heart, which had just calmed down, rose again. Impossible. This must be a dream. At the same time, Elder Yu, Zhuo Tiansheng, and the city lord all looked at the bloody storm in shock. Damn, is he still human? On the other side, Yun Xiang couldn't help but curse. What's wrong? Is this bloody storm very strong? Yi Miao and the lord of Tianyue Tower looked at him suspiciously. Of course it's strong. Because this is the third profound of the law of slaughter, killing intent domain. Yun Xiang said. What? The third profound? The two girls looked at Madman in shock. The fact that he had activated the second profound was already unacceptable enough. Now, he had even activated the third profound. This little madman was definitely not human. Because a normal human, no matter how monstrous, could not comprehend the third profound at the initial stage of undying. Who is he? The third profound, how did he do it? Hearing Yun Xiang's voice, the other people in the city were also shocked to the extreme. If the second profound was shocking, then the third profound was enough to make people go crazy. The scene was dead silent. Everyone looked at Madman in shock. Monstrous. No. Monstrous could no longer be used to describe this man. He was a monster, a pervert. Woo woo, the bloody storm swept across the sky, shattering in all directions. Yi Yuan's eyes trembled. Even though his physical body and strength had been enhanced to the level of a high-grade divine artifact, he still felt a fatal danger. Because every wind blade in the bloody storm emitted the power of a high-grade divine artifact. In other words, once he was submerged in the storm, it was equivalent to being swallowed by countless high-grade divine artifacts. Even his physical body would find it difficult to withstand. After all, his physical body and strength had not been enhanced to the level of a peak-grade heaven-defying divine artifact yet. Someone who hasn't even comprehended the power of law dares to call himself a monster? Learn to keep a low profile like me. Madman waved his large hand. The blood-colored storm immediately accelerated, surging towards Yi Yuan like a giant python. That's right. Before leaving the Black Tortoise realm, Madman had already comprehended the third profound. Moreover, he had also comprehended the first profundity of the other two laws. As for Qin Feiyang, his gains were not small either. He had already comprehended the second profound of the karma laws, the thunder laws, and the light laws. Originally, he wanted to find this Yi Yuan to test his strength, but he was snatched away by lunatic, so he didn't get what he wanted. But he wasn't in a hurry. In any case, what the sky cloud realm didn't lack the most was opponents. Looking at the roaring storm, Yi Yuan's gaze trembled slightly as he hurriedly retreated like lightning. You want to leave? The corner of Madman's mouth lifted. Slaughter Law roared in all directions. A huge blood-colored enchantment descended from the sky, instantly enveloping Yi Yuan. Following closely. One after another, blood-colored storms constantly emerged. In just a moment, thousands of storms emerged within the blood-colored enchantment. This was the true face of the killing intent domain. Once trapped by the killing intent domain, one would face countless storms. At this moment, Yi Yuan couldn't help but panic. There were storms formed by the slaughter law in all directions. There was no way out at all. He clenched his teeth and punched towards a storm in front of him. Accompanied by a rumbling sound, this storm collapsed, but there were even more storms roaring. As long as the killing intent domain wasn't broken, the slaughter law would continue to produce storms until his divine soul and body were obliterated. Helpless, despair welled up in his heart. Suddenly, there was a scream. Yi Yuan's arm was crushed by more than a dozen storms. In just a few breaths, Yi Yuan's entire body was a bloody mess. Even his bones were exposed. Young master, Xing San couldn't bear it anymore. He tore apart the enchantment set up by the city lord and attacked the killing intent domain. Oh no! The pupils of the city lord and the other two shrank. But they didn't dare to stop him. At the same time, Qin Feiyang, who was not far away, narrowed his eyes slightly. Boom! However, at the same time, another figure tore apart the enchantment and appeared in front of Xing San at lightning speed. Qin Feiyang and the city lord and the other two immediately looked over and saw a white-haired old man. He looked a little stooped and his face was extremely old. However, the aura he exuded was no weaker than Xing San. What are you doing? Xing San glared at the white-haired old man. You're a perfected dominator. Are you going to bully a junior? The white-haired old man laughed hoarsely. It's none of your business. Xing San said angrily. Is your rogue cultivator alliance getting carried away? Have you forgotten who's the overlord of the eastern continent? The white-haired old man's eyes turned cold. Xing San raised his eyebrows. He's from the demonic palace? Qin Feiyang looked at the white-haired old man suspiciously. He's from the demonic palace and the tower master of our Wind Sea City's demonic tower. Zhuo Tianxing's voice rang in Qin Feiyang's mind. I see. Qin Feiyang mumbled. However, why was this person helping them? Was it because of Elder Hua? Although the demonic palace and the rogue cultivator alliance have an agreement to develop peacefully and not interfere with each other, the rogue cultivator alliance seems to be getting more and more out of hand these years. Take Yi Yuan for example. He's been committing crimes in the Wind Sea City all day long and has already aroused public anger. The white-haired old man spoke. The coldness in his words was even more intense. This is young master's fault. The deputy alliance master will naturally discipline him. Xing San looked at the white-haired old man gloomily. That's a matter for the future. Now, since it's a one-on-one battle, please don't interfere. The white-haired old man said. Why are you helping them? Are they related to the demonic palace? Xing San was burning with anxiety. You have no right to ask and I have no obligation to answer you. The white-haired old man's words were vague and made one's imagination run wild. Xing San clenched his fists tightly. Suddenly. A painful scream came out from the killing intent domain. Xing San quickly looked over and saw countless wind blades tearing Yi Yuan's body apart and piercing through his lower abdomen. His Qi was finally shattered. Once his Qi was shattered, Yi Yuan's aura immediately sank. The strength of his physical body and strength also immediately fell to its original state. Without a strong physical body, the blood-colored storm almost instantly tore his body apart. Young master, Xing San threw a punch at the white-haired old man and roared, "Get out of my way." The white-haired old man didn't back down at all and threw a palm over. The fist and palm met in an instant. Both of them took a step back and were evenly matched. The magic sword slayer also wanted to rescue Yi Yuan but was restrained by the golden scale sword and couldn't get away. Qin Feiyang looked at the two of them and sent a voice transmission to Frenzy, "Senior brother, don't kill him first." Frenzy was about to kill Yi Yuan when he heard Qin Feiyang's words. He was slightly stunned and then turned to look at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. "Bring him over here," Qin Feiyang thought to himself. Frenzy nodded and grabbed Yi Yuan and landed beside Qin Feiyang. The killing intent domain also dissipated. At this moment, only half of Yi Yuan's body was left. He was dripping with blood and looked so pitiful. At the same time, the golden scale sword also separated from the magic sword slayer. The golden scale sword returned to Qin Feiyang and Frenzy's side to protect them. The magic sword slayer floated in front of them, its aura locked onto Qin Feiyang and Frenzy. But Qin Feiyang and Frenzy didn't care. Qin Feiyang turned to look at Yi Yuan and smiled, "Didn't I tell you? Don't look down on your senior brother, why won't you listen? You dare to kill me?" Yi Yuan was still clamoring. Still so arrogant? Frenzy's eyes were filled with killing intent. Qin Feiyang stretched out his hand to stop Frenzy and looked at Yi Yuan. "You are the grandson of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance's deputy chief. Of course we don't dare to kill you." Hearing this, Yi Yuan smiled proudly. Xing San, who was stopped by the white-haired old man, couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. It seemed like these two people were still afraid of his Rogue Cultivator Alliance. But, suddenly, Qin Feiyang changed the topic and smiled, "If you want us to let you go, there is a condition." "Condition? You think you are qualified to negotiate with me?" Yi Yuan sneered. Qin Feiyang was stunned. This person really didn't know how to write death? Suddenly, Qin Feiyang's eyes turned cold as he grabbed Yi Yuan and pressed him into the air, giving him a beating. "Bastard, I will kill you!" Yi Yuan roared. "You still want to kill us?" Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback as he stomped on Yi Yuan's mouth, shattering his teeth. His entire face caved in as blood flowed out. "Can you stop for a moment?" After a round of beating, Qin Feiyang lowered his head to look at Yi Yuan and asked with a smile. Yi Yuan stared at Qin Feiyang with hatred. "A conceited person like you shouldn't have left behind a soul before coming to Wind Sea City. So, if we kill you now, your life will be over." Qin Feiyang looked at him with a smile. Yi Yuan's pupils constricted. "How is it? Can you stop now?" Qin Feiyang said. A trace of fear appeared in Yi Yuan's eyes as he nodded his head unwillingly. "See, you are a typical example of not being honest without a beating. I have to beat you up." Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. Xing San looked at Qin Feiyang and said in a deep voice, "Don't talk nonsense, just say it. What are your conditions?" "It's very simple. Give us 2 magic sword and his heaven-defying divine art that can strengthen the body and strength." Qin Feiyang raised his head to look at Xing San and smiled. Xing San's face suddenly became extremely ugly as he said gloomily, "Aren't you afraid that you can't eat it? You don't have to worry about that." Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Madman glanced at Qin Feiyang. Only then did he understand that he was coveting 2 magic sword and the heaven-defying divine art. Immediately, he also looked at Xing San and smiled cruelly. "Our appetite is very big. A heaven-defying artifact and a heaven-defying divine art can barely cover the bottom." Xing San's face sank. Using a heaven-defying artifact and a heaven-defying divine art in exchange for Yi Yuan's life, I think for your Rogue Cultivator Alliance, it is a very worthwhile thing. Let's talk about it later. You know very well in your heart, if Yi Yuan really dies here, the vice leader will definitely not let you go. In other words, this deal not only can save Yi Yuan's life, it can also save your life. Qin Feiyang smiled. Xing San was silent. Madman impatiently urged, hurry up, my patience is limited. Lord Envoy, agree to them. You have seen with your own eyes what they have done, there is nothing they can't do. Compared to the heaven-defying artifact and the heaven-defying divine art, the young master's life is more important. City Lord, Zhuo Tiansheng and Elder Yu also ran up and advised. If Qin Feiyang and Madman could obtain 2 magic sword and that heaven-defying divine art, then their strength would increase by a lot. If Qin Feiyang and Madman became stronger, then Xiao Xian would be safer. So, on the surface, although they were thinking for Yi Yuan, but in reality, they were secretly helping Qin Feiyang and Madman. Chapter 3074. Third Xing's face was gloomy. At this time, the white-robed old man spoke again, don't force yourself, he's just a wastrel anyways, his death is a good thing for your rogue cultivator alliance. Third Xing immediately looked at the white-robed old man and said angrily, you can't wait for young master to die? The white-robed old man said hoarsely, what's the point of this kind of scum living in this world? Third Xing looked at the white-robed old man with a gloomy expression, then looked at Qin Feiyang and shouted, fine, I promise you. Straightforward. Qin Feiyang smiled, took out an empty jade strip and gave it to Yi Yuan. Third Xing looked at Yi Yuan and sighed, young master, give it to them. Why? Yi Yuan said angrily. Because your life is in our hands. Madman smiled coldly. Yi Yuan's pupils contracted, but his heart was filled with unwillingness. Young master, don't worry, this is just a temporary measure, when they let you go, I'll kill them immediately. Third Xing transmitted. Yi Yuan heard this and his heart was instantly excited. Xing San then transmitted his voice to the 3 castellans, later, when Qin Feiyang and the others release young noble, I'll immediately restrain that damn old man Mo Lu. At that time, you must kill Qin Feiyang and the castellan. Yes. The 3 secretly replied. But in the blink of an eye, Zhuo Tianxing secretly told Qin Feiyang and Madman about Third Xing's plan. When the 2 heard this, they sneered in their hearts. Madman kicked Yi Yuan, his eyes filled with murderous intent as he shouted, hurry up. Yi Yuan hurriedly took the jade slip and recorded the divine art on it. Very good. Madman grabbed the jade strip and looked at the magic sword of slaughter. Third Xing said in a low voice, the magic sword of slaughter has its own consciousness, it's not something we can control. In other words, if you want it to go with you, it'll depend on your own abilities. Madman's lips curled up, looked at the magic sword of slaughter and said, trust us, as long as you follow us, I guarantee you'll transform into a dominator divine weapon. What? Transforming into a sovereign weapon? Hearing this, Third Xing paused, then looked at Madman Qin Feiyang as if he was looking at an idiot. He actually dared to say such big words. Magic Sword Slayer didn't believe it either. Even Zhuo Tiansheng and the others thought it was a joke. Madman said, how about this, we'll give you a place first, and then you can make your choice. All right. Magic Sword Slayer's voice rang out and instantly landed beside the 2 of them. Madman said, erase the blood contract first. Normally, no one would be able to control a heaven-defying divine weapon like the Slayer magic sword. As long as they were willing, he could erase the blood contract. Of course. If it was someone with a higher cultivation than them, it would be a different story. For example, supreme existences like Elder Hua and Elder Hai. At their level, other than sovereign weapons, no other divine weapons could escape their control. The current owner of the magic sword is Yi Yuan. Based on Yi Yuan's cultivation, it was naturally impossible to control it. After Madman said that, the magic sword slayer pondered for a bit before erasing Yi Yuan's blood contract. Qin Feiyang also waved his hand and sent the magic sword slayer to the Black Tortoise world. A moment later, the magic sword slayer appeared. How is it? Madman looked at it with a teasing expression. I'll go with you. Magic Sword Slayer's voice had a hint of excitement that was hard to hide. Third Xing, Yi Yuan, the mayor and the others all looked at the Magic Sword Slayer in shock. What's going on? It was actually willing to go with the two of them? Third Xing came back to his senses and said in a low voice, "Can you let him go now? Forget about the Magic Sword Slayer situation, saving the young master was more important." "All right, we'll let him go." Madman nodded. "Prepare to attack. We can't let them escape." Third Xing sent a message to the three of them. "All right." The three of them replied in secret. Since they had already informed Qin Feiyang and Elder Hua, whether or not they could escape depended on their abilities. Then they looked at Madman and Qin Feiyang. The two of them looked at each other, and an imperceptible light flashed across their eyes at the same time. "Vice Leader?" Suddenly, the two of them looked behind Third Xing and the others at the same time and exclaimed, "Vice Leader!" Third Xing and the others were shocked and immediately turned around to look. It was also at this moment. With a thought from Qin Feiyang, Qin Batian appeared and immediately activated the spacetime law, and a spacetime portal appeared. "They lied to you guys," Yi Yuan hurriedly exclaimed. Because he was standing with Qin Feiyang and Elder Hua, he could see the situation behind Third Xing and the others without turning around. Grandpa did not appear. What? Third Xing was shocked when he heard that. But at the same time, Madman's eyes were filled with murderous intent, and he slammed his palm towards Yi Yuan's head. Ah! With a shrill scream, Yi Yuan's head exploded like a watermelon, and flesh and blood splattered everywhere. His god soul was also annihilated. Third Xing turned around to look at this scene, and instantly gritted his teeth. "We'll meet again if fate wills it." Madman waved his hand and smiled. Qin Batian waved his hand, swept up the two of them, and rushed into the space-time portal without looking back, and disappeared in an instant. "Bastard!" Third Xing roared, and madly rushed towards the portal. Zhuo Tiansheng and the other two looked at each other, and also looked devastated, and followed Third Xing. But at this moment, the white-haired old man waved his hand, and a surge of divine power blasted towards the portal. The portal immediately collapsed and disappeared into the void. This way, Third Xing could not chase after them even if he wanted to. "You!" Third Xing was immediately enraged, and turned to stare at the white-haired old man. "They did a good deed, we can't let good people be bitterly disappointed, right?" The white-haired old man smiled faintly. The people in the city below all looked at the white-haired old man with admiration. Because the white-haired old man did what they did not dare to do. They also did not expect that Qin Feiyang and Elder Hua would be so daring, and really kill Yi Yuan. They originally thought that the two of them would let Yi Yuan go after getting the divine weapon and divine art. After all, he was the grandson of the vice leader. To kill him, it would take a lot of courage. And from now on, they would be hunted down by the Rogue Cultivators Alliance. After weighing the pros and cons, letting Yi Yuan go was the wisest choice. But they did not expect that the two of them were not afraid at all. Not only did they kill Yi Yuan, but they also got two powerful divine weapons and divine art, killing two birds with one stone. This kind of courage was truly admirable. Third Xing stared at the white-haired old man, and said, "Is the Demon Palace planning to declare war on the Rogue Cultivators Alliance?" "Declare war?" The white-haired old man was slightly taken aback, and said with a hoarse laugh, "Does the Rogue Cultivators Alliance have what it takes to fight the Demon Palace?" Third Xing clenched his fists tightly. "Don't overestimate yourself. Although the Rogue Cultivators Alliance has grown stronger, but you know the gap between us and the Demon Palace." The white-haired old man had a hint of disdain in his eyes, and turned to leave after saying that. "Come with me, kill him." Third Xing shouted. Boom! His aura rolled out. Zhuo Tiansheng and the other two looked at each other, and could only brace themselves and release their aura. "What? You really want to start a war?" The white-haired old man turned around and looked at the four of them without fear. You have to give us an explanation for the death of the young master. Third Xing walked towards the white-haired old man step by step. Qin Feiyang and Yi Yuan had run away, so he could only look for the white-haired old man, or else he would not be able to report back. Explanation? The white-haired old man shook his head and smiled, and bowed. Welcome, Elder Hua. Elder Hua? Third Xing's eyes trembled. Shua. In the next instant, a fiery red figure appeared in front of the white-haired old man. Who else could it be but Elder Hua? Looking at Elder Hua, not only Third Xing, but the city lord and the other two could not help but tremble. Elder Hua had his hands behind his back as he scanned the four of them. Finally, his gaze landed on Third Xing, and he said, Tell me, what explanation do you need from me? Third Xing looked at Elder Hua in fear, not daring to speak. Say something. Elder Hua took a step forward, and a vast divine aura rolled out. Puff. Third Xing immediately spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying, his face pale. So strong. Everyone was shocked. Just a divine aura was enough to send Third Xing flying. Do you still need an explanation? Elder Hua asked with a smile. No need, no need. Third Xing hurriedly waved his hands. Then why aren't you scramming? Elder Hua shouted. Third Xing carried Yi Yuan's body in a panic and began to teleport away using the altar. What is this? How dare you ask for an explanation from the demon hall? Elder Hua was very domineering as he looked at Zhuo Tiansheng and the other two. The three of them hurriedly lowered their heads, not daring to look directly at him. They were secretly complaining in their hearts. Why was this old man here? However, they did not know that Elder Hua was not only there, but he had been following Qin Feiyang and Zhuo Tiansheng. Therefore, Elder Hua had seen everything that they had done. Do you need an explanation? Elder Hua asked. No need, no need. The three of them hurriedly waved their hands. Elder Hua glanced at the three of them indifferently, turned to look at the white-haired old man, and said, You can stay in Wind Sea City peacefully. If the Rogue Cultivator Alliance dares to find trouble with you, I will not let them off. Yes. The white-haired old man bowed and replied. Elder Hua lowered his head and glanced at the people of Wind Sea City. He then activated an altar and left quickly. This is so satisfying, so satisfying. The people in the city below immediately laughed out loud. Yi Yuan's actions in Wind Sea City over the years had long aroused the anger of the people. The Demon Hall had stepped forward to protect Qin Feiyang and Zhuo Tianxing this time, which made them quite satisfied. Their view of the Demon Hall also began to change. It seemed that the Demon Hall was not as domineering as they had thought in the past. They still had human feelings. The city lord also heaved a sigh of relief and transmitted his voice. Old Zhuo, Elder Yu, do you think this Elder Hua just happened to pass by, or has he been paying attention? What do you mean? The two of them were secretly shocked. If he just happened to pass by, then it's fine. It means that he's just fighting for justice. But if he has been paying attention, then it means that Qin Feiyang and Zhuo Tianxing must have some connection with the Demon Hall. The city lord transmitted his voice. The two of them looked at each other when they heard this. The city lord continued, To be honest, I hope it's the latter. Why? The two of them were suspicious. If they are really related to the Demon Hall, then it's safer for Shao Xian to follow them. The city lord thought. That makes sense. The two of them nodded without leaving a trace. All right, I'll go back first. You guys stay behind to deal with the aftermath. The Deputy Alliance leader will definitely be furious. I have to think of a way to deal with him. After the city lord said that, he turned around and flew back to the city lord mansion. Zhuo Tiansheng and Elder Yu looked at each other. Not only were they not worried at all, they even relaxed. Everyone had seen this matter. Yi Yuan's death was something they could not stop. Even if the Deputy Alliance leader wanted to blame someone, he could not blame them. The only thing they had to consider now was the Deputy Alliance leader's revenge on Qin Feiyang and Zhuo Tianxing. However, from this matter, they believed that Qin Feiyang and Zhuo Tianxing had the ability to deal with it. Therefore, they did not need to worry anymore. They just needed to play their part and not cause trouble for the two of them. Chapter 3075. Black Tortoise World. Huh, it's been a long time since I had such a good fight, it feels so good. Madman laughed loudly. Only you can still laugh after killing the grandson of the vice leader. Qin Badian looked at Madman speechlessly. What are you afraid of? If my strength allows, I will even kill that old bastard grandson of the vice leader. Madman had a look of disdain. Qin Badian was speechless. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "You guys better stop." Saying so, he turned around and returned home to continue comprehending the profound laws. After watching Qin Badian enter the house, Qin Feiyang also retracted his gaze and turned to Madman. Don't be so cocky. Have you ever thought about why the Lord of Wind Sea City's Demon Tower helped us? Is there a need to ask? It must be because we are popular. Madman smiled narcissistically. I'm serious. Qin Feiyang glared at him and asked, could it be Elder Hua's order? Who else could it be? Madman pouted. Qin Feiyang said, it seems that Elder Hua really cares about us. Then who knows what he is thinking about? Madman sneered. What do you mean? Qin Feiyang frowned. He should know about the existence of the ancient castle and Black Tortoise World, so we can't rule out some possibilities. Of course, it is also possible that he purely admires us. No, he admires me. As for you? Forget it, you have no talent and no looks. You are far inferior to me. Madman smiled narcissistically. I think you are too arrogant. Qin Feiyang glared at Madman. Killing Yi Yuan made him so proud. Don't be envious, don't be jealous. Madman laughed. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes and turned to Magic Sword Slayer and smiled. How is it? Are you satisfied with the Black Tortoise World? Who the hell are you? The Magic Sword Slayer's artifact spirit asked in shock. Qin Feiyang said, didn't you see it? We're just two ordinary people. Can ordinary people have an independent world? Who are you kidding? Magic Sword Slayer was speechless. It doesn't matter who we are, but there's something you have to remember in your heart. Don't even think about betraying us. Madman looked at Magic Sword Slayer and said. Magic Sword Slayer coldly snorted, you dare to make me leave now? I won't leave. You're already acting shamelessly. Madman was stunned. How is it? You bit me? Magic Sword Slayer sneered. Fine, fine, fine. I admit defeat. Madman was speechless and then took out the jade slip. Qin Feiyang immediately looked over, his eyes shining. This is mine. Don't you dare try anything funny. Madman immediately hid behind him, guarding against Qin Feiyang like he was guarding against a thief. What attitude? I just want to take a look. Qin Feiyang said angrily. Do you think I'm so naive that I'll believe your nonsense? Madman looked at him with disdain. Qin Feiyang smiled. To be honest, he was a bit tempted. After all, it was a peak heaven-defying divine art. Madman asked, seriously, what's the level of your 6-word divine art? Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and shook his head. Don't tell me, I really don't know. But from the power of the kill word divine art, it shouldn't be simple. The power of the kill word divine art isn't simple, but the battle word divine art, walk word divine art, and return word divine art don't seem that strong. Madman muttered. The battle word divine art isn't strong enough? It can negate 90% of the attack power? Qin Feiyang frowned. Madman said, but compared to the kill word divine art, don't you think it's still lacking? That's true. Qin Feiyang nodded. After pondering for a while, he shook his head. I just copied the 6-word divine art. I didn't really comprehend it, so I don't know its true potential. Then you know a lot about the power of law. Why don't you go and study it? Madman suggested. In the past, because he was unfamiliar with the power of law, Qin Feiyang didn't take it too seriously when he copied the 6-word divine art. But it was different now. He had stepped into the imperishable realm and grasped 3 types of power of law. To be honest, he should study the 6-word divine art. If the kill word divine art is so powerful, then the walk word divine art, return word divine art, and battle word divine art shouldn't be as simple as what we see now. Madman said. Okay. I'll find some time to study it. Qin Feiyang nodded. If the slaughter domain of the kill word divine art was fully activated, it might be able to clash with sovereign weapons. This meant that the kill word divine art had surpassed the level of a heaven-defying divine art. In other words, perhaps they were wrong from the start. The 6-word divine art wasn't a heaven-defying divine art. It was a sovereign divine art. Of course. This point still needed to be further verified. Next, the two released their divine sense into the jade slip to check this peak heaven-defying divine art. Battle word secret art. This was the name of this divine art. Using battle as the source, it combined with one's blood to increase the strength of one's physical body in power. At most, it could increase one's physical body in power to the level of a peak heaven-defying divine artifact. This was equivalent to a sovereign at the late stage. It could be said that, for the current them, this was a very powerful heaven-defying divine art. With this battle word secret art, they would have the ability to fight against a sovereign at the late stage. Of course. This was the same as the slaughter domain. It needed to be strengthened. If they really fought against a sovereign at the late stage, the sovereign at the late stage would probably be killed before the slaughter domain could be strengthened. Therefore, before truly fighting against a sovereign at the late stage, they had to use other methods to strengthen their physical body and power to the peak heaven-defying divine artifact. Compared to the slaughter zone, I feel that the battle's secret art is a bit simpler. At least we don't have to kill innocents and absorb their blood. The madman said. Do I have the ability to kill innocents now? Qin Feiyang frowned. Right now, the living beings of the Black Tortoise world were contributing their blood, so there was no need to kill them and collect their blood like before. Just like now. The living beings of the Black Tortoise world had always been providing blood, so the sea of blood in the western region had been filled up again. In other words, if he faced a sovereign weapon now, he could activate the slaughter domain again. I'm talking about before. The madman rolled his eyes and handed the jade slip to Qin Feiyang. If you want it, I'll give it to you. So generous? Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback, then chuckled. Then I won't be polite. You really want it? The madman's face darkened. He hurriedly put away the jade slip and kicked Qin Feiyang. I knew you wouldn't be willing. All right, this is your spoils of war. How can I fight with you for it? Besides, compared to me, this battle word's secret art is more suitable for a battle maniac like you. Qin Feiyang shook his head. At least you have some conscience. The madman chuckled, then turned and ran into the castle to comprehend in seclusion. Qin Feiyang, madman mo, come out. Suddenly, an old voice sounded from outside. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Wasn't this Elder Hua's voice? How did this old man know they were hiding here? Shua. Qin Feiyang left the Black Tortoise world and saw Elder Hua standing in the void in front of him. I knew you guys were still hiding here. Elder Hua laughed. You're following us? Qin Feiyang frowned. Cough cough. Elder Hua coughed dryly with an awkward expression. Don't make it sound so bad. I'm just concerned about you guys. The corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. Only this old man in front of him could make it sound so noble. Where's Madman Mo? Elder Hua glanced behind Qin Feiyang and asked. In seclusion. Qin Feiyang said. You're really hard-working. Elder Hua smiled with relief. Of course. There are so many experts in the sky cloud realm. If we don't work hard, wouldn't we be trampled under their feet? Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, then looked at Elder Hua strangely and asked, You were also in Wind Sea City just now? Yes. Elder Hua nodded. So, it's really you who asked the Demon Tower Lord to help us? Qin Feiyang said. Of course. Other than this old man, who else has such a big face? Elder Hua smiled proudly. Qin Feiyang joked, Then the main reason you came this time should be to look for Senior Brother Madman, right? Ha! Elder Hua laughed dryly. As expected, he was a little fox. Nothing could escape his eyes. But thinking about it, to be able to comprehend the third profound at such a young age, who wouldn't be moved? Qin Feiyang laughed. Yes. Elder Hua walked in front of Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, Look at the two of you. Both of you have such monstrous talents. How dangerous would it be to stay outside? So, follow this old man to the Demon Palace. As long as you enter the Demon Palace, even if the Rogue Cultivator Alliance has a few hundred guts, they won't dare to do anything to you. As expected, Qin Feiyang mumbled. He knew that Elder Hua came for this matter. He waved his hand and said, My talent isn't monstrous. The monstrous one is Senior Brother Madman. Don't say that. Although I haven't seen you use the power of law, this old man believes that you will comprehend it sooner or later. Elder Hua smiled encouragingly. Thank you for your encouragement. This junior will definitely work hard. Qin Feiyang nodded. This humble attitude made Elder Hua quite satisfied. He smiled and asked, then, about going to the Demon Palace. Not going. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Why? Elder Hua was stunned. Qin Feiyang sighed and said, To tell you the truth, we don't like to be restrained. No one is restraining you. You can do whatever you want. Elder Hua hurriedly said. That's what they say in the beginning. When you really enter and encounter any problems, there will be a lot of reasons to persuade you. I won't fall for it. Actually, the main reason is that we don't want to be protected by the Demon Palace. Because this will limit our growth. Think about it. If we ask the Demon Palace for help whenever we encounter any problems, how can we train ourselves in the face of difficulties? Humans have to experience many hardships before they can truly grow and become independent. Only then will they have the courage to face all difficulties. Qin Feiyang said. Elder Hua was more and more fond of Qin Feiyang and Madman when he heard these words. This was because young people nowadays liked to lean on trees to enjoy the shade. There were too few people who had such awareness. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.